Plantagenet by Mike Walker. Edward I. Old Soldiers. With Philip Jackson as Edward I and Ellie Kendrick as Queen Margaret.
Wait up there, Jack. I've got to unload here. Should have used the jakes, Simmy. Scottish jakes ain't fit for Englishmen.
Oh. So you've no great liking for this country, boys? You what?
Who is it? What's he want, Jack?
Shove off before you catch you. Ah, well, you see, there's a wee problem with that.
Oh? And what would that be, Jock?
Well, you see, I can't shove off, because I live here. This is my country. And you can keep it, mate.
Yeah.
I intend to. As soon as I get it back from you. Oh, God!
Oh, look, we're not armed. But we don't want no trouble.
The pity of it is trouble wants you, my friend.
Sanctus, Sanctus Dominus Deus Sabaoth.
I will go to God in the joy of my youth. I look at the man who stands beside me, so tall, so stern, so old, and I'm more frightened than I've ever been in my life before.
My lord, place the ring on your bride's thumb and say,
in the name of the Father.
I know he's a great and terrible king and warrior. I know he's been married and widowed. I know his wife gave him 16 children before she died.
In the name of the Holy Ghost.
I know I am a girl of 17.
And say,
Amen.
Stranger in a strange land.
If you're in there, William Wallace, I call on you to give yourself up to the King's authority.
What do you want? Who are you?
John Heselring, the sheriff. As you well know, Marion Wallace, if your man is within, we mean to have him for killings that were done.
He's not here.
Break down the door.
You're a cruel man, Sheriff Heselring.
And you are a rebel, and will pay the price for it.
Is this the King's justice?
Haul her up, Sergeant.
Sir,
she's dead meat. I said, haul her up.
No.
Madam, you may dismiss your women.
Monsieur?
Your women. They have prepared you,
Monsieur?
dressed you, undressed you.
Monsieur?
In your wedding, your nightgown, for your night to come a-jousting. A jest, madam. Are you fond of jests? Madam.
Monsieur?
Is there any chance at all, since we are man and wife, that you might manage to say something, anything, other than Monsieur?
Monsieur?
Now, my dear girl, don't take on so. It's only a maidenhead. You'll have much more fun without it. Didn't they, your women, didn't they instruct you? You know, cocks and hens, goats and sheep, horses and lady horses, all that sort of thing. Dry your eyes.
I'm sorry, Majesty. I have the preparations, but now the moment, it is not the same. It is so very here.
I dare say it is, my dear, but you know how these things are done. We have settled the matter of Gascony. It stays English. I become a relative and give my duty for it to your brother Philip of France. And to complete the agreement, to show the marriage is a marriage, well, we'll just have to play the game of the two-backed beast, you and I. You know he'll get a report from one of your women.
I know my duty, sir. Please, avail yourself of me.
Shutting your eyes and clenching your teeth, Margaret, is not... Take it from someone with a bit of experience is not the best way to begin. And this, you know, is not easy for me.
But you, the great and terrible king.
Would you like me to tell you a story? Would you feel calmer if I did?
Oh, yes, Majesty.
Then, one night, in the Holy Land almost 30 years ago, we were on crusade. My wife, Eleanor, had come with me, braved all the dangers, the frustrations. I loved her for that devotion. The army was stuck in front of Jerusalem, going nowhere. I made contact with the Sultan, who promised to deliver the key to the city of God to me, Prince Edward of England. Before all the kings of Europe, I would succeed where they had failed. I would be the new Lionheart.
What happened? How did it come out, this plan of yours?
Think of it, Margaret. The wind and the sand, jackals howling out in the desert. A night so dark and stars so bright and thick, a man might reach up and grab a handful of light. A sentry walks the perimeter.
Far enough, friend. Or not?
Friend.
You look like a Saracen to me. And I don't have no Saracen friends.
Peace be upon you. I have papers from the Sultan for the young English lord. He will wish to see them.
I don't know, I can't read.
I carry the Lord Edward's ring as a pass. Can you see that?
All right, you can come through, but I'm watching you. You're all bloody scorpions as far as I know.
Who is it? What do you want?
I am the one you expect, my lord.
You have the proof?
I return your ring. Yes, it is yours.
It is mine. I thank your master. Sit. Do you take wine or some water, perhaps?
I have all I need. But I will sit if I may. I have come far tonight to see you, my lord.
From the Sultan?
From the mountains. From paradise.
And you have authority to speak in the Sultan's name?
I have authority to speak and act in the name of my master.
And what does your master have to say to me?
That in this world, there is no end of the cares of princes. And that a man will be ground down as the grain between the milling stones until he is nothing but dust in a desert wind.
Does that mean anything? I'm a practical man, my friend. If your master has something to say that I can use, then say it.
As you wish. You will never take Jerusalem. This land is lost to Christendom. Go back to the north. If you stay, you will be lost also.
I thought you would have a different message. Never mind. I'm not leaving until Jerusalem is regained. Tell the Sultan...
My master is not the Sultan. He is the old man of the mountains.
Damn you to hell!
I shall wait in paradise.
Treachery! Assassin!
Sir, the wound is not deep, but we believe the blade was poisoned. The Queen sucked the poison from her.
She is not harmed, Roger. Tell me she's safe.
She is, my lord. But...
What is it?
The flesh around the wound. It still blackens. The infection may have spread. Sir, you must prepare your soul.
Not ready, Roger. Not by a long furlong. Got too much to do. If the flesh is rotten, cut it out. Tell the doctor, be merciless. Cut as far and as deep as he must. And cauterize the wound with fire.
Queen Eleanor risked her own life without a thought. It's like the tales of Camelot, of King Arthur and his court, of his Queen Guinevere. It is so beautiful.
Yes. And as I lay there biting through the leather strap, I thought of Arthur and his knights and of what he had made. And I swore to myself if I lived, I would make something too. I would make England one, united. A castle on a hill that would withstand every attack.
King Arthur and his knights.
And to remind me that in the end even Arthur died. I keep the assassin's knife. But I could not keep Eleanor.
I am so sorry, Majesty. But I cannot be your Eleanor.
There are many things a king can and must change, but some things, no. And I don't ask it. Just be my Margaret.
Then, Majesty, I will try.
And I will be your Edward. And we will get to know each other, and we shall try and do our duty, as a knight and his lady should. But not this night. We'll sleep together, Margaret, but chastely. And in time...
But, Majesty, what of the treaty, the sheets, the blood that must seal the deal?
This blade is not poisoned. A plot hatched between us, my dear, that will forever remain between us.
They always were led by their cods, those Plantagenets. Well,
Majesty?
Oh, well, indeed. All is very well. Edward is enchanted with his new princess. My reports tell me so. He's living in a dream world. Arthur and Guinevere and all that rubbish they believe in. They have no grasp of the mind in England, Leclerc. They don't plan over there. They blunder ahead and somehow they muddle through time after time. Well, not this time. This time, whilst Edward plays the game of the two-backed beast, France will be hunting and France will bring him down.
And your orders, sir?
Oh, that's simple. Get me Gascony.
For a while, it seems we live in Camelot, a magic court where all the stories come out well in the end. We are happy. I'm with child, and in this Camelot, there are no enchantments.
Here, Margaret, in this very abbey, Arthur and Guinevere have their rest.
Your Majesty's welcome to Glastonbury.
My Lord Abbot, it is good to be here again in this place. I promised the Queen I'd show her the tombs.
You are interested, madam, in Arthur?
But yes, I have many stories of the king and his knights. But how did he come to be here?
Oh, no one knows, madam. When the old abbey burned in the reign of the great Henry, the king's illustrious ancestor...
No need for flattery, Abbot. Your stipend is secure.
Yes. The bodies of Arthur and his lady were discovered by the monks and brought great celebrity to our humble abbey. Soon there were hundreds, thousands who came to view the remains.
And paid well to do so, eh, Master Abbot?
My lord, it is God's work.
And the church's money?
This tomb, it is so...
magnificent.
Suitable. I had it made 20 years ago. The name and fame of Arthur deserved a proper monument, so anyone could come and see the heart of Britain at any time.
But do not some say the king will return again?
Indeed they do. Should the country ever face the greatest peril, Arthur and his knights will ride forth from Avalon and defend the sacred earth of this land.
Oh, well said, your majesty. Well said.
Oh, well said, your majesty.
The man's a fool.
Not your father, surely, Ned.
The abbot.
Oh, he's only making a living.
The whole thing's absurd.
It's pageantry. The king knows how valuable that can be. Give people something larger than themselves to believe in, and they'll forget about the holes in their souls.
I really don't care that much about the people, Piers.
Maybe you should.
Oh, don't you start lecturing me too. He does it all the time.
He's the king, Ned. He wants you
to be like him, but he's old and he's tired and just wants to sit around making peace and swiving with his little queen.
She is tasty, though. You have to admit it. I hope at his age I'm still limber enough to joust with a dish like that.
Down there for dancing, Gaveston. Up here for thinking. My father is weak.
The country's never been stronger and more at peace with itself and the world. Is that so bad?
He's weak because he gives his power away to the barons. Roger Bigod, de Bourne, even Bishop Winchelsea, and they're all old men. They squat by the fire, warming their bones and remembering the battles they won 30 years ago. They want to geld the king so he disturbs neither their rest nor their money bags. Anything for a quiet life. That should be the new royal motto. Do you want war? Of course. Who doesn't? Agreed. At least amongst the young men. And I want to see a strong monarchy. After all, I'm going to be sitting on the bloody throne one day. The strength comes from the man, Ned, not where his arse rests. The king could be on the jakes and he'd still be king. Are you saying I wouldn't? Oh, come on. We're brothers, aren't we? We swore to stand by each other when we were boys. When you were my only friend, Piers. I won't forget that. Ever. Then you know we think alike. We want the same things. And things have to change. We can't live in Camelot. It's a story. It wasn't real.
After we've seen the tomb, there is a joust. In the old English way. The king's finest knights prove their valor in the field of combat.
Walter de Bohun, Constable of the Realm, salutes the king.
Roger Bigod, Marshal of England, salutes the king.
Thomas, Earl of Lancaster, salutes the king.
John, Earl of Warwick, salutes the king.
Henry of Pembroke salutes the king.
Sir Piers Gaveston salutes the Queen. Your Majesty, permit me to wear your favour on this day.
Should I, Edward?
He's a lad. His followers are young. They'll be beaten. But if it pleases you...
Mother, if I may call you so, Your Majesty.
I hope I may be worthy of that in your eyes, Ned.
Then for my sake, give your favour to my brother Piers.
Ned, you're riding for a fall today.
You think so, Father? Mother, what do you think?
I think you may wear my favour, Sir Piers, and fight valiantly, win or lose.
Majesty, I am your knight, and we'll give these old men a trouncing they'll not forget, in honour of youth and beauty. Hup! Ned! With me! Yeah!
Edward?
It's not for a common man like Gaveston to lead a prince. I do not quite like that fellow.
He is very handsome. Very, formidable.
And very pushy.
They fight as if the battle were real. 50 men in armour riding at each other, clashing furiously. No quarter given nor asked. The fine edges are taken off the swords, but they're sharp enough to wound and kill if a beaten knight does not yield and give himself up as hostage.
Madam, we were as good as our word. I give into your hand the vanquished who fell before our swords. Walter de Bohun, who can't seem to stay on his horse anymore. Earl Warwick, who thinks he's a mole from the dirt on his face. Henry of Pembroke, who looks as sour as a merchant who's lost his purse. And Earl Marshal of England, the mighty Roger Bigod, who has recently enjoyed a meal of crow, though it was not, I believe, much to his taste.
Enough, Gaveston. You push yourself forward where you're not wanted.
Madam, lest you think that all Englishmen are bad-tempered grandfathers...
You, Gaveston, are not English. You're a bloody Gascon.
I'm the king's loyal subject, my lord.
Not so much, boy. More like the prince's loyal.
Have a care for your tongue. I brought you down once today. I can do it again.
You dare to talk to me in that way? One day you'll go too far, Gaveston.
But not today. Earl, Piers is my friend. When you insult him, you insult me.
And you, Prince, are still...
Enough! Youth owes respect to age. I expect that principle to be observed in my court.
Oh, Father, do we really?
It will be so.
Then, sir, I offer my humble apologies and deliver my captive knights to the Queen. May she do with them as she will.
Damn you, Gaveston.
Then, gentlemen, your forfeit is to celebrate the memory of King Arthur and bring together those who are apart. Let us, out of conflict, make peace.
Well said, madam. Well said.
Sergeant, is all secure?
It is, Sheriff. They'll not come visiting tonight. Not the weather for it.
The Scots don't give a toss about the weather, my friend. They're like goats. The rain runs off them, the sun bakes them. Makes no difference either way.
As you say, sir. Is there anything else?
And ask my wife to come through, will you? And you can tell the kitchen we're ready to eat.
Sir.
Yes, come, my dear. We're almost ready.
Henry, I'm not alone.
What do you mean?
There's someone who wants to see you.
Well, this is hardly the time for petitioners. You know that, Eleanor.
No petition, Sheriff. Unless it's yours for mercy.
Sergeant! Guards!
No one's coming, Heselrig. There's no an Englishman left alive in the house.
Oh, my God, my son!
If he's a man, then he's a dead man. As are you, standing by the fire that will soon burn your soul for eternity. Lady, leave now. You didn't want to see this.
Please spare him. He...
Go, Eleanor. May God be with you. There's no hope for me.
In this world or the next. Know before you die, Sheriff. Here is where Wallace starts. When I end, Scotland will be free. Burn it! Burn it all and scatter the ashes!
You see, Leclerc? The hawk flies and hunts, but when he lands, you place a hood over his head and he is helpless. He no longer has the power of flight. So it is. Edward Plantagenet is hooded and belled, and I am master of Gascony.
From conflict, let peace be born. And a son is born to us, Thomas, and we have great delight in him.
Feel that grip already. He'll hold a sword like a knight.
And he'll be tall. Tall as you, maybe.
Well, most of us tall men, except for John. They say he was a short man. Does it make a difference?
You're the king? Of course. He must be seen to be grand.
Yeah, it helps.
He's hungry. Nurse.
And he must be certain and know his own mind, even if he is wrong. Uncertainty in a king is worse than death. My father, God save him, suffered from the worm of doubt. He was too good a man to rule. He thought of others, of God, of what was right and wrong, and not of what would do the job.
And your son?
Ned is a weathercock. He goes which way the wind blows. And I fear there will always be someone to blow for their advantage rather than his.
Will he make a good king?
Weathercocks don't, my dear. I sometimes wish to God that he was the man to rule. And then I might step aside and go to some monastery and read pious books.
And the occasional romance, too. No, you could never step down from your throne. You are the king.
I am almost 70 years old, Margaret. I have seen so much, and sometimes I am so tired. I could sleep. Come.
Your Majesty, there is a letter.
You see, no rest for the king.
Well, from our people in Gascony.
Can't it wait?
I'm afraid it can't.
As he reads, his lips moving just a little with the words, it's as if, by the enchantment of some wizard, the walls of Camelot shatter. What is it, Edward?
That whoreson bastard brother of yours, madam, has lied and cheated. And may he choke on his own treacherous tongue and go down to hell where the devil will find him a fit companion, and God can crap burning turds on his shite-eating head. The snake has gone back on his word and marched into Gascony. 2 of our garrisons hold out. He offers them terms. He offers in my province. What do you know of this, madam?
Nothing. How could I?
Does he think he can buy me off with a young wife? He's wrong if he does. There are wives enough and to spare.
Sir, you do yourself no honour with such words. This is your son. I am your wife.
Madam, I am sorry. Bigod, summon the council.
Sir.
God help me. Will it never end?
What will you do?
I thought I was done. It seems God is not done with me. I am tired, Margaret. That's what Philip rests his hopes on. An old, tired man. Well, while I have strength left, no bastard son of a bitch is getting the better of Edward Longshanks. Gascony has been invaded. Philip has been treacherous.
He's been French, then.
Indeed, Roger. He offers with one hand, takes with the other. Well, we shall simply have to take back.
It may not be that easy, sir.
Archbishop, you do the praying, I'll do the fighting.
And who will do the paying, Your Majesty?
Wars aren't cheap. Wars cost. A lot.
Yeah. Indeed, and that's why I've come to the council. As the law dictates I should.
Sir, no one disputes your ability as a leader of men. Quite. Strategist. A warrior.
But it isn't about that anymore.
It's about the money.
I am aware of that, gentlemen.
And the money is about the taxes on the church and on the people.
You've pacified Wales. Scotland is quiet for now. But the cost, sir, has been great.
Roger, I need an army. We can't lose Gascony. National prestige is at stake.
You've asked for too much too often.
You must listen to your counsel, sir.
You too, de Beaune.
I'm Constable of England. It's my duty to speak.
For your treasure chest.
There's no treasure left, sir. You cannot have what there is not.
Is the game worth the gamble?
This is the last shred of Henry's Angevin empire. Philip of France must be stopped. Grant me taxes or no, I will have my army. Roger, I call upon you to go to Gascony and settle this matter. Offer him peace. If he doesn't take it, give him war.
Don't ask me to do this, Edward. In memory of our long friendship.
But I must.
Then I can't.
By God, Earl, either you'll go or you'll hang!
By the same oath, I will neither go nor hang.
It cannot be done, sir. We have to negotiate.
The rest of you?
We think alike. It's not the money and goods alone. It is the ancient liberties.
Archbishop, you may care to think that in the end, the ancient liberties are generally saved by a platoon of soldiers. They won't give me the money.
Then take it. You're the king.
That's what Ned would do. It's what he wants me to do. Or perhaps it's what Gaveston wants me to do. But they're wrong. They can't see things have changed. Thrones aren't lost by revolt. But when those who sit on them can no longer read the signs of the times. Englishmen have come to know the throne and the king are not the same. They'll respect and give loyalty to the one. But if the other displeases them, they'll change it for a better fit. It's a different world. My father fought his whole life against it, but I saw it coming and I made it happen. And now I have to live with it. And Philip will walk away with Gascony.
Maybe he won't. You know my brother's no warrior. If you can face him with an army, he will back down. Even when I was a child, I could always win an argument if I got really angry with him.
Don't you see, Margaret? I have no army. I'm not Merlin. I can't magic it from the air. And somehow, I don't think King Arthur will be riding out to fight by my side. There is no Lancelot, no Galahad, no Gawain. There's only an old king.
But a king of England.
With no army.
Then speak to England, my lord. Speak to your Englishmen.
People of England, I stand before you as your king. Edward by name, so called because my father loved the English martyr Edward the Confessor, and made a shrine to him and named me in his honor. There is a new and great treachery made by France. France has stolen English land. Land held by us since the time of Brutus and King Arthur. I stand here today as your king. I am your house, your wall, your castle. Whilst I live, no Frenchman will take from you what is yours by sacred right. The Parliament and the Council will not pay for more wars. They would sue for peace and allow Frenchmen to strut on English land. I go to fight for England and cast down the French thief. I may not return.
You will, sire.
I will die in battle as your champion if God so wills it. And I ask you now to acclaim my son, young Edward, as my successor if my spirit should depart its earthly home in Gascony. And I say be damned to the council and the old men. Who here will go along with Edward Longshanks and take a short walk in Gascony to kick the arse of French felons?
At last, he's gone. Do you feel free?
Not really. I'm regent, but the council still runs things, and they'll do so as long as he allows it.
Well, maybe you should do something about it, whilst you have the chance. You are, after all, the Prince of Wales.
But he'll be back.
Well, he might die out there. It can't go on forever.
Well, sometimes it seems like he can, Piers. You know I was never the first choice. Think how that feels. I'll be king because I lived when my brothers did not.
God ordains these things.
Well, I wish he'd ordained differently.
Maybe God has a special purpose for you in his mind. Maybe it'll be your task to return the throne to what it was in old Henry's day and under the Lionheart. Maybe you are the once and future king.
Could that be possible?
For the king, anything is possible.
So, you are here, Edward, not at home with your wife?
She sends her regards, by the way.
Does she really?
No, Philip, not really. She thinks you're a snake.
She always had a sharp tongue. But a pretty girl, eh?
Did you hope she'd keep me at home swiving?
I surmise that at your age, perhaps you no longer felt the trouble of Gascony worth the effort. Or the cost.
Let's not play games. We both know you're as strapped for cash as I am. They call you Philip the Fair because of your golden locks. But your soldiers have a different name. Philip the Unfair, who never pays his men on time.
We have similar problems.
Here's something I've learnt, even at my age. Men will fight to save their lives because they are well paid or because they believe in something. My men fight for glory. They'll get it. Your men fight for money. They won't. But it doesn't have to be this way, Philip.
What are you talking about? I confess that I had rather hoped things would turn out differently, but now, well, I can hardly turn tail and run, can I? No élan there.
Your daughter Isabella, my son Ned. We'll marry them. An alliance. You leave Gascony in a casual sort of way. It'll seem like this was all a diplomatic mission and not a war at all.
It could be done?
We could do it.
Then I ask, what war, cousin? It is, as you say, a joyous occasion. France and England.
England and France.
A detail. Who comes to blows over a detail?
And once again, peace and prosperity will reign.
For Scotland and Wallace, let not one English bastard remain on our sacred soil!
Sir William, I am a man of God. I would talk with you under truce.
What do you have to say, Bishop? It seems to me God's not been of your party this day.
In the church, I have only women, children, the old and wounded. We're no threat to you. I beg you, Wallace, in all mercy, let us go. We offer our surrender.
Can you offer what's been taken, Bishop? Your rate no longer runs in this nation.
Then before God, grant us mercy and we will go.
Before God, there is no mercy. Ban the church! Any that try and escape, cut them down!
Is there never to be a moment when I am left in peace? What can I do? Tell me. Am I a horse dragging its load long after there's reason or hope or an end in sight to the road ahead? Well, have you nothing to say to me? Haven't I been your man these 65 years? Do you demand more? Why did you spare me from the assassin's knife, only to drag my life out under this burden? What do you want? What do you want of me?
Husband?
Margaret, I can't hear him. He has nothing to say anymore.
Perhaps you're not listening.
I want to sleep. But I can't trust any of them. Bigod has been my friend since we were boys. Ned is my son. Winchelsea and the church and all the rest, each one is for himself, and I alone am for England.
Maybe that is your answer, Edward. For England. A castle on a hill, didn't you say, that will stand against all?
This world and everything in it, Margaret, it sweeps through our lives like a flood. We are picked up by the waters and cast up to the shore, or down to our ends. All of our grand designs, our great thoughts and highest hopes can be swept away in a moment. Even our castles on a hill. The waters will eat away their foundations and the walls will fall.
So what can we do, Edward? Even if all our hopes are drowned, won't our children still be there? Won't they need us? Won't England need you still? What can we do?
We can get on with it, Margaret. Climb off our knees and get a move on. Oh. Help me up. Oh. I have much to do. This Wallace plunders with impunity. Every day he remains at large, his allies see English power is less and believe themselves to be kings. And once the fire of ambition takes hold, the whole house is at risk.
Fire can burn he who raises it, sir.
But not he who resolutely pisses on it to burn. Whereas he who pisses into the wind...
Take care, Master Gaveston.
I know where I stand, sir. Do you?
This is our business too, de Bowen.
So far, Prince, your business has been spending money and playing games. Forgive me if I find it difficult to see you or your friend here as serious men in serious times. This is not a joust.
No, it's war, and war is a young man's game, so I suggest you leave it to us.
There have been disagreements between parties. Things have been said and done that were unwise and hasty. All that must be forgotten now. There is a greater threat.
The threat to the law and the charter is great too, sir. If you go against the council...
I stand by the law, Earl, that I swear.
Father, don't listen to them. The times call for action. Wallace isn't going to care if your armies have the law behind them or Parliament's support. Victory is worth any price.
No, Ned, it isn't. We go united or we go down. Roger, last time we spoke, you wouldn't go with me to war. I ask you now, will you ride beside me?
Didn't Master Gaveston say we're getting a bit old for this sort of game, Your Majesty?
This is no Gascony, this is England.
And if the council finds the money, You'll stand behind your words.
The law is safe with me.
No, Father, you are giving them too much.
Ned, bide your time. Come, let us leave them.
Well, Roger, can it be done?
It won't be easy, sir.
It never is. It never was, and it never will be. But it's what we do, eh? Old soldiers?
Old soldiers, sir. But in a new world, where money talks louder than princes, if we are to do this...
And we must.
Then there will be a price.
You see, Piers? He dances to their tune. He's no choice. So long as they hold the key to the treasury, they have the power. But only as long as things remain unchanged.
What are you thinking, Ned?
They have land and power. They look down on you because you have neither. I'm thinking it's time we altered the balance a little. Father, I have a favor to ask of you. Grant it, and you'll have the whole of the younger party behind your wall.
What do you want, Ned?
That I might give the county of Ponthieu to Piers Gaveston and ennoble him as the count of that place.
You want to give my land away? To a nobody? You, who never in his life gained enough earth to plant your feet?
Father, Piers is my friend. He's as close to me as a brother. I value his advice and his support. I think he needs a position that will lend his voice the authority it deserves.
You value him too much. Gaveston makes enemies unwisely.
They look down on him because he has a sharp eye and a sharper tongue, and will take hard words from no man.
What is he, Ned? What does he have apart from those sharp wits? Does he have family or land? Does he have money apart from what you give him or what you wish me to give him?
He's always supported you and your policies.
No, he's supported himself and his policies, which are to rise in this world on your shoulders. And you can't afford to allow it. Princes and kings cannot be ruled by their favourites. I won't grant your favour.
You have no cause to treat him or me in this way.
The cause is the kingdom, Ned. You must learn that if you are ever to rule well.
When I rule, Father, I will rule as king.
No, you rule as need allows you. There is a price to be paid for everything.
What do you mean?
Gaveston must go.
No. He is my brother and my friend.
If I am to have an army and the support of the barons, Gaveston must be exiled. That is part of their price.
I won't allow it.
You won't allow?
They cut your balls off, Father. They've made you weak.
You whoreson bastard, you speak to me of weakness! By God, if I could do it now without breaking up the kingdom, I see that you never, ever sat on my throne. You'll do as you're told, boy, and like it.
No, you're wrong.
You'll destroy all that I have built.
You never trusted me.
Will you take this crown, this kingdom, and fritter it away?
You never had time for me.
You'll be exiled to France. You will stay.
You never loved me.
Love is for women and babies. Now go! Go! No. No, not yet. Not ready. Not by a long furlong. Got too much to do. You know, an army on the march has a special sort of smell.
Horse shite and sweat. Grease from the mobile kitchens. Hot metal from the farriers. And hot sex from the whores. It's what we do, eh?
I love this, Roger. Always have. It's been 30 years since those battles with de Montfort. And being in the saddle, feeling that tightness in your gut, knowing it all rests in God's hands now.
Well, yes, but God does expect a grasp of tactics and strategy. It's not just because he likes you, Edward.
Wallace fights for Scotland, but his followers fight for themselves first and their country second. Believe me, if we can unbalance Wallace, they'll sell him for their own advantage.
Yeah.
Roger, next time I go on about the glory of war, remind me of this night. If our armor doesn't rust by morning, we can give thanks to God.
I believe the Scots Call this a fine, soft evening or some such thing.
Sleeping in armor somehow isn't the fun it used to be when I was 20. And my bloody horse stepped on me when I was trying to rest.
We can't take the chance of standing down. Wallace could fall on us at any time. Blood. There's blood, Edward.
It's nothing. Leave it. Sergeant?
He's out there, my lord. His forces are drawn up on the hill, pikemen to the fore.
That'll take some getting through. How many?
Less than half our numbers, I'd say.
Then we strike at dawn.
Not you, sir. Let us.
Miss the battle? I don't think so, Roger. It may be the last chance I ever get to fight in the saddle. First light, we put our trust in God. And an outflanking movement. And a liberal handout of English gold to the nobles of Scotland.
I wish I'd been there, Ned. It should have been our battle, our victory. It's wasted on the old. Wallace got away, they say.
So they say. His own men stood by him, but the rest,
The Scottish nobility,
didn't care to sacrifice themselves for the glory of Wallace.
they believe their day will come.
Well, ours, Piers. I fear that Bigod and the others have won a double victory.
A skirmish, but not a war, Ned. We have the greatest ally of all. Time is on our side and against the king. They tried to keep his wound hidden, but at his age, now he's gone on to take Stirling Castle. We have only to wait and offer no cause for censure. To do nothing is to do everything.
I need your advice, as always. I need you beside me, Piers.
There are messengers. We'll not be lost to each other. And you will be king.
And we will change things then.
Aye, we will.
All aboard and go aboard!
I'll remember this when I am king. Who were our friends and who our enemies. I will neither forget nor forgive.
And now, it's a fine day for a sea voyage. God save you, Ned.
God save you, Piers.
Heave! Heave, you sons of whore! Another bow's width! Pull! Pull for your life!
They call it the war wolf.
Such a huge machine. It is fearful, Edward.
Takes 30 wagons to move it. Needs 3 days to set it up. Nothing like it has ever been seen in the world before. It'll hurl a 300-pound rock faster than the eye can follow. It's the future of warfare.
Sir, that word from the castle. They're ready to surrender.
What, before my war wolf has tasted blood? Tell them, Roger. Tell them they surrender at my will, not theirs. That's it! Prime her well! Full force! Let's teach them a lesson they won't forget!
If they're shitting their britches before she howls, then it'll be liver and lights after she's done!
Must they really wait, sir?
They must, madam. Not for their benefit, but for every Scottish leader who thinks he can stand against me. We need to finish this once and for all. I'm glad you've come, my dear. We'll enjoy this. Seat for the Queen there! Seat for the Queen!
I'm glad I've come because someone needs to take care of you, Edward, since you won't take care of yourself.
Time enough for rest when I'm dead. Sergeant!
On your word, sir!
Let her howl!
By the Lord! The whole wall's down!
Another! Before they run up the surrender!
Don't worry, sir! If they do, we'll just knock the whole bloody tower over! Now pull! Break your backs!
Madam, war is better than hunting.
Is war better than love?
Aren't they the same?
One makes babies and the other makes corpses.
And aren't all babies bound for corpses in the end?
In the end, yes. But for now, I have a request of you.
Yes?
Your son. You must welcome him back to your side.
Gaveston has gone.
To France.
Well, that price has been paid. And Ned should be beside his father. He might learn something useful.
He's not you, but he cares for your interests. You should trust him better.
The king can trust no one, except himself and God. And God, as we know, doesn't talk. I know the boy is weak, and desperately wants to seem strong.
Give him time. He'll learn.
Weakness, Margaret, is a quality like tallness. It doesn't learn, and it doesn't change. We'll see. But for now, let me rest. I'm tired.
Today was a victory, so sleep in peace tonight.
And tomorrow?
It's another day.
You've drawn a good crowd, Sir William.
They may go to the devil. My business is with my saviour. I commend my country to his mercy. I was betrayed by Scotland, but I did not betray Scotland.
They'll need all the mercy they can get after our King Edward's done with them.
Stop your blather, man, and get on with it.
As you say. Now, this is going to hurt.
I tell you this truly. There is no gift like liberty. Scots, never live as slaves!
After the last victory, things change. Edward is terrible in his reprisals against the Scots. It's as if he knows there's little time and so much to do. Once we had talked of bringing peace from conflict. Now there is only conflict.
The king is in council.
Your Majesty, the news from Gascony is not good. King Philip has walked out of negotiations.
He'll be back. There's nowhere else to go.
France can wait. Scotland cannot. This Lord Robert Bruce, he's broken the king's peace. Killed a man in front of God's holy altar. He means insurrection.
I agree. We must intervene before it goes too far. I said building wooden castles would not hold the country.
You know we can't afford stone. And we can't afford another army either.
Men won't come without money.
They will if the king leads.
Edward, you cannot.
Whilst I can hold a sword and ride a horse, my dear, I can. Englishmen will come to follow my banner. I don't need to fight. I doubt if I could do that anymore. But I may be seen, and to see Edward Longshanks as your captain is no small thing.
To die is no small thing.
That, Margaret, the poorest man in the kingdom can do that. That's nothing special. But to be the king and to lead, that's something else entirely. That is duty.
Sometimes I wish we could be free of duty.
Would Arthur have said that? Or Guinevere? They're in their tomb now, but they live forever. Thank you.
What do you mean?
For caring about this old man. If I don't come back, remember you are young still.
And after you, there are no other men, my lord.
Last time we were here, you thought you'd be fighting your last battle.
This time I will, Roger.
Now, won't you stop and rest? Get warm, at least. A day or two can't make any difference.
You know that isn't true. Who goes fast catches the stag. Who lags loses. Remember de Montfort?
I remember his head on a pike. Oh, we've seen some difficult times together, Edward. That's for sure.
The man who wanted to kill me in the Holy Land told me in this world there is no end of cares for princes, and that a man will be ground down as the corn between the milling stones until he is nothing but dust in the desert wind. I am Edward Plantagenet, and I am dust.
And we got through in the end. We'll get through this. Edward?
My lord?
They bring him home. My great and terrible king. My Arthur. And everywhere he passes, Englishmen stand by the way and mourn his passing. We bury him in the abbey amongst his forefathers. There his body rests. But his memory...
I told you, Ned, time was on our side. More than time enough, Piers. England has a king now who is not afraid to rule. And that king has a brother in arms. There are going to be a few changes around here. Believe me. We'll start with the council and then Parliament. Let's show them who we are, Piers. But what about the Scots? Bother the Scots. We've got a kingdom waiting for us. So, let's go and get it.
In Plantagenet by Mike Walker, Edward I was played by Philip Jackson, Margaret by Ellie Kendrick, Ned by Sam Troughton, Gaveston by Simon Bubb, and Wallace by James Lailey. Other parts were played by Sean Baker, Brian Bowles, Jonathan Forbes, Nyasha Hatendi, Stuart McLoughlin, Joanna Monro, Peter Polycarpou, Daniel Rabin, Alun Raglan, and Jane Whittenshaw. Plantagenet is directed by Jeremy Mortimer and Jessica Dromgoole. Plantagenet by Mike Walker. Edward II. The Greatest Traitor. With Sam Troughton as Edward II, Hattie Morahan as Queen Isabella, and Tristan Gravel as Roger Mortimer.
The gulls are inland today. Must be stormy out at sea.
Don't know about that, my lord.
It doesn't matter.
We have to get on, sir. There's a big crowd. They want to see Roger Mortimer. They're calling you the greatest traitor.
To ride the wheel of fortune. A man goes up, a man goes down. He finds great hatred, but he finds great love, too. To have made something, and to have lost everything.
They're waiting, sir.
Oh, he's always been waiting.
I don't understand.
Old Death. Waiting for you and me, and kings and queens and favourites, too. Gaveston. Piers Gaveston. Is that where it started?
They promised. They gave their word no harm would come to me.
None of my concern.
But this is wrong. The king...
King ain't your pilgrim. There's only you, me, and Owen. And I'll tell you what, there's only two of us who'll be drinking tonight.
It's murder.
It's orders.
Then, for God's sake, give me time to make my peace.
Well, from what I heard, Sir Gaveston, peace wasn't exactly what he was making. Come on. Let me help you here.
What? I can... Oh, God. Oh, God, help me. Ned, help me. Ned. Ned.
Owen, you get the head. They'll want to see that. And we can get out of this bloody weather and get a drink.
Those whoreson, pox-ridden, God-cursed bastards.
What is it, sir? Ned, what's happened?
Piers. They killed him. Warwick, Lancaster, the rest of them, they gave their word, Roger. They swore he would be safe, and they...
My lord?
Gaveston. He gave himself up, but they killed him anyway.
What are you doing here, madam? You never liked him. You never cared about him. Nobody cared as I cared.
I care, husband, because it was a cowardly act against all honour.
Pay.
Oh, every one of them will beg for my mercy, and I will say no, and they will die slowly, and still they won't feel one pinprick of the pain I feel.
Sir, please, have your revenge by all means. It was a cowardly act, but for now...
Don't talk about now, Roger. How can there be any now, or then, or tomorrow, when Piers is dead?
Because you are king, and kings must lead.
And kings must, at times, fall in with what can't be changed.
You're supposed to be my friend, Roger. How can you talk to me in that way?
Do you think I don't care? When my father died, Piers administered my estates. He was my big brother. He taught me how to fight. You remember that move? The double bluff with a broadsword. Remember the day he showed it to us?
How pleased he was.
How I couldn't get it right, so he had a small sword made, specially for me.
He was kind.
We were not best friends, he and I, but yes, there was respect.
So, my lord, go with the Wheel of Fortune, and you'll see those that are up will one day be down. Piers would say the same if he were here now.
I wish to God he was.
Then show them you're a king. Face the problems. Send an army to Scotland to deal with Robert Bruce.
I'll do more than that, Roger. I'll lead an army, just as if he was beside me.
Sir, you should perhaps let me, or...
I will lead, and I will win, and I shall dedicate my victory to the memory of Piers.
Gaveston was partial, grasping, arrogant, and ambitious beyond all limits.
You can't tell me this. I'm the king's friend.
And may the Queen have no friends. I have been pushed aside in my own court. I am a king's daughter, a king's sister, but I am not a king's wife.
It's not my concern, madam.
If you are concerned for the king...
Yes, of course I am.
Then it is your concern.
You are working on me, Majesty. I do not like to be directed.
By a woman.
By anyone.
By your duty, sir. Think on it, my Lord Mortimer.
She was clever. I'll give her that. Plant a worm in a man's mind and leave it to work its mischief. And yet she wasn't wrong. And not wholly. The king had given Gaveston his head far too much. And because of it, business was piling up at home and, most seriously, in Scotland. And now, the king was off to lead his army.
Any sign of them?
Not unless they look like trees, my lord. Can't see a bloody thing in here.
Who fights a battle in the forest?
We need to get out.
What was that? Can't see. Can't see anything.
Keep moving. Don't stop. Keep moving.
Where are they? They're picking us off. They're supposed to be running away.
Sir, we must pull back.
Our knights can't fight amongst the trees.
They can't fight, Pembroke, because they've no stomach for it. We outnumber the Scots. We've 5 times their weight in armour.
But not in a forest with our infantry 2 miles down the road.
We can outflank them.
Marshy ground to the north, the Bannockburn to the south.
Bruce has chosen his ground well. He's done this before.
Old men's wars, Pembroke.
Sir, you know me. I've never walked away from a fight in my life.
Your courage is well attested, D'Argentine.
And I'm not walking away from this one, but let us have a little light to cut their throats by.
Very well. We wait for the morning. It's a fine day, gentlemen.
It is that, sir. The army awaits your command.
I still say we should pull back. Choose our ground, not his.
That would look like a retreat. Pembroke, my father never retreated. I don't intend to either.
You won't have to, sir. Here they come.
What now?
They're on their knees. They know they're lost. They're praying for mercy.
Not to us. It's God's mercy they want. They know today they either win or die.
Then let them die. The army will advance.
I love to see a battle. Who wouldn't? We were made for war, and in war we're at our best. They came at us like a sea.
We can't bring the reserves up. Bruce has pinned us. It's a killing field.
I will not retreat.
We can't risk losing you, sir.
Damn it, I won't.
You must. If they take you, then God knows what'll happen. Daughter time! Save the king! I'm not in the habit of retreating. I'll hold them back. Now, go!
Go, Ned! We'll hold them. This was supposed to be my battle, not theirs.
They'll laugh at me, Roger. They'll say I was my father's only mistake. Your friends will never do that. I swear it. Brothers together. For England and King Edward. Yeah!
Roger Mortimer, Earl of the March. You have been found guilty of high treason against your lawful king, Edward II of England. Do you have anything to say? No word?
I am allowed no word. This is no trial.
Your treason is writ large, and you cannot deny it. Is there any reason why sentence should not be passed on you?
Hugh Dispenser! He doesn't show his face today, but this is his word.
And yet he is the king's loyal servant, and you are a rebel. You will be taken from this court to the Tower of London, where you will, for your treason be quartered, for your murders be hanged, and for your robberies be drawn. Thus to all traitors, take him away.
I was the king's friend. After Gaveston died, it was my shoulder he wept on. So how did I become a traitor? What happened? Or maybe I should say, who happened?
The Exchequer needs money, sir. If government is to function, then the enabling bill must go through Parliament, and to do so...
Money, money, money.
And France still has eyes on Gascony. We need...
To allow His Majesty time and peace for consideration of these weighty matters. You are like boys badgering him.
Dispenser, I find such advice to older and better men somewhat impertinent.
My lord, forgive me, but answer me this.
Go on.
I grant you are all great lords. Earl of Pembroke, Norwich, Essex, Lord of the March. All of you men of years, of achievement and wisdom. Why is it then, with all your experience, you bring His Majesty only problems and no answers? Is it because you have none? Your Majesty, may I suggest you send your ministers away until they do have some answers?
Who in the devil's name do you think you are, Dispenser?
Yeah, I'm sure you know very well, Mortimer.
Dispenser is right, my lords. Give me something other than protestations of loyalty. Give me answers. The council is over.
Come.
Madam, I have to see you.
Have to? What do you want?
Well, I hear the view from your balcony is one of the finest and most private.
If you wish. There you can see the Squire's jakes. And the piggery beyond that wall. There, I believe, is the Westminster Midden. You enjoy scenery?
I don't really care for it unless the land is mine.
Well, you do have a very great deal of it over there on the marches.
I won't waste your time, madam.
I have time, sir.
I don't.
Very well. We're private, as you require, sir.
I am the king's good friend.
He has many friends, but they don't seem to do him much good.
Now he has a new friend. A man called Hugh Dispenser.
And I have 10 fingers and 10 toes.
I think this man may be different. I remember how it was with Gaveston. There was an unspoken agreement between them, as if each knew exactly what the other was thinking. I don't say this is the same, but Dispenser...
I seem to recall, my lord, that a while ago I shared certain thoughts with you. You asked me then, what is this to do with me? I ask you now the same question.
We don't want another unholy alliance, madam.
Have you come to the Queen to ask her to spy on the King? You dishonor me.
Well, that's not what I mean at all. Forgive me.
Then what do you mean? Do you even know what you mean?
You are very disconcerting, Majesty. You don't talk like a woman at all.
Perhaps you have not met many women
I can assure you.
who are not afraid to say what they mean. Particularly when they know what they mean. Nothing to say?
What I'm trying to say.
Try harder, sir.
Hugh Despenser is intensely ambitious.
And you aren't? And every other lord and magnate in the country?
Very well. I think his is the hand that will fit perfectly the glove that is the king. And I think Ned feels that too, and that somehow he wants it to happen.
He calls you his brother, my lord. I am merely his wife, and an unnatural woman, as you pointed out. I know my duty. I will not form an alliance against the king.
I'm not asking for that. Just be aware of what is happening. If you notice anything...
I am not an informer. If you have concerns, then go to the king. You swore brotherhood at Bannockburn. That should mean something, even to a man who tries to recruit the Queen as his spy.
She was the most infuriating of women. You never knew where you stood with her. It was... fascinating. Despenser wanted land in Gower, along the march, and with a king behind him.
I take your pawn, Roger. You should have a care.
Good move, sir. But sometimes it is worth losing a piece to win in the long run.
Not with a knight's move like that, Roger. Your castle is in danger.
Well, proceed carefully, sir. I'm not likely to give that up without a struggle. The strategy may cost you valuable pieces.
Maybe I should send you off to fight the Scots.
I thought things were quiet there.
For now. Hugh thinks. We think. The time will come soon enough when we have to settle matters once and for all.
Well, this time, put a good general in charge.
You?
You could do worse.
Not sure I'd quite like to see you in charge of a national army, Roger. You've far too many followers already down there in the marches.
What, aren't we brothers, and don't brothers trust each other?
Cain and Abel, Jacob and Esau.
Is this you or Despenser?
We are one in most decisions.
Ned, I've never lied to you. I don't trust him.
Are you going to move?
There, I think.
Neither forward nor backward. A wasted move. You don't like him. Why?
Llywelyn Bren.
The Welsh rebel.
I gave him my word of honour. If he surrendered, he'd be treated well and offered parole. You cannot have missed the fact that whilst I was in Ireland, Despenser had him hanged, drawn, and quartered.
You have missed it. I have you forked, Roger. You must lose that castle or your bishop. Or you could have stopped it.
I know.
Hugh had promised him nothing, Roger. He was a rebel. He richly deserved his end.
My word was given.
I do see that, and I know, well, perhaps Hugh is sometimes a bit over-eager, but after all...
He'll never cause us another sleepless night.
I requested a private audience with the king.
Oh, talking to Hugh is just like talking to me, Roger. You two really must make up this quarrel between you. You're both my brothers. I need you both. So you save the castle?
I'm very attached to it.
Of course, sir. You know my concern above all things
is your own rise, Despenser.
You're annoyed about the Welshman, aren't you? Well, I am the King's first minister. A decision needed to be made, and I made it. Llywelyn was too dangerous to remain alive. He was a turd to the flies of rebellion.
Very good, Hugh. You see, Roger, there is method and mind at work here. Thank you. I'll have that bishop.
And in the Gower? John de Mowbray's land? Bought fair and square for a decent price. A higher price than your man offered, and yet we find the king has taken that land from Mowbray and awarded it
to a good and loyal servant of the crown.
Ned, please, listen to me. We go back. You and Pierce became my family when my father died.
An appeal to emotion.
The king cannot afford too many enemies, and right now, Despenser, you are bringing in a bumper harvest of them.
Don't tell me what I can afford.
What next? An appeal to force?
It won't be me, but it's been done before.
You men of the March are far too powerful, Mortimer. You think too much of yourselves and take too much upon yourselves. You are, as are we all, subject to the king. I suggest you remember that.
I am dispenser, as are we all, subject to the laws of this land. I suggest you remember that.
Laws are made by men and may be changed by men. Kings are made by God.
By God, man, you should have a care.
No! Stop! Now! Stop!
A naked blade in the presence of the king, Mortimer. And you chatter about law. You had better leave.
You don't dismiss me. I am Earl of the March. No clerk tells me when to go.
The king tells you, Roger. Go. Be quiet. Think about what happened here today and let it never happen again. Oh, and I would have won had we finished the game.
On the contrary, Ned. 3 more moves and I would have taken your queen. It was plain that Edward intended to support Dispenser regardless of right or law. He had betrayed our friendship. And I could not let that stand. I was hurt, I admit it, at being replaced by Dispenser.
He promises to mend his ways, and then 1 minute with his favourite, and he's lost again.
Yeah.
All those who acted against Gaveston, where are they now? Gold in the ground.
Our fathers stood against the first Edward when it had to be done.
Longshanks' spine was made of steel. Ned is hollow inside. He exists, I think, only when another will animates him.
That's deep stuff, cousin. What do we do?
We've come too far to stop now.
It's as if Dispenser is daring us to test his power over the king.
And that's what bothers me, cousin. Dispenser is no fool.
And I'm no priest to gossip about brains. The only brains I want to see are spilling out of my enemy's skull.
Yeah.
Our power rests on our power. I suggest we exercise it.
So we would act. Not against Ned, but against Dispenser and his greed.
They say the king will fly his new hawks today. It's supposed to be magnificent.
A present from Lord Dispenser.
Will you fly them, madam?
I have not been invited to do so.
The king is busy, no doubt.
No doubt.
And your majesty is...
As you see.
very beautiful this sunny afternoon.
Are you referring to the riverbanks? The tents and coloured flags? The music, perhaps? More fitting to a man.
And more fun.
And women don't fight, you believe?
I believe they might, if the time and place were right and the cause sufficient.
But perhaps I am too old to fight.
You are young, madam. I've seen you dance. Your feet hardly touch the ground.
And yet you don't care for music, my lord. Do you know the songs of Bertram de Born? Youth and Age? A woman is old who sets no warrior's heart afire. A woman is old if she stays faithful to her sire. If her hair hangs like ragged stuff. If her lover's manners are rough. If music no longer delights her heart. And if her words fall like stones with no art. Sir, have a care in what you do. The king may be blind, but his dog has sharp eyes and sharper teeth.
Mother! Mother, come. I'm going to fly my goshawk. The king says I can fly him first.
My Lord Prince, how are you?
Sir? Lord Mortimer, Edward. You remember him? Of course I do. Would you like to see my hawk fly, sir?
I'd like nothing better, if the Queen will permit.
She will, won't you, Mother? Do you have hawks, sir?
Of course I do.
Yes, go. Go fly your birds. And, my lord, I don't speak lightly when I speak with my heart. I don't wish to see you a prisoner.
Dispenser knew exactly what he was doing. Before provoking his enemies, he'd made sure to buy his friends. I thought we were leading the dance, but he was playing the tune, and within 6 months our forces were routed and we were suing for peace. I was sentenced to the Tower, where I waited for death to come visit. Allspay, have you come to finish with me?
My job is to guard you, not kill you.
Well, thank God for that.
Until I receive a warrant to do so.
Then I still have today.
You do. You may leave us.
Sir?
Well, I would offer you a seat if I had one. And a drink, if I had one.
I have news of your family.
They're alive?
Imprisoned, but alive.
Oh, thank God. The wives of my comrades, their children.
All imprisoned as the consorts an issue of traitors. Their property confiscated by the crown, as is yours.
And the king? What of him?
In Scotland, with the Lord Dispenser. They've decided to teach Robert Bruce a lesson he'll not forget.
He's already learned how to beat a stupid general, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid you are right, my lord. But England at least will be glad to see the back of them for a while. Things do not go well in the land.
God help us all.
God, they say, helps those who help themselves.
The Dispenser is helping himself to England. Will God help him?
You are not without friends, my lord. But here in the tower you are surrounded by enemies. You must have a care for yourself.
Dalsby, a question.
There is no time. I must take care myself.
The Queen. What does she do in all this?
The Queen is in Scotland, beside her husband in his battles.
My lord, is it always so uncomfortable on campaign?
The rigors of a soldier's life, madam. Here we deal with matters of life and death. There are no half measures, eh, Hugh?
Absolutely, sir. The Scots must and will be brought to heel like unruly dogs.
But unruly dogs can turn on you and nip your ankles, see you.
Have no fears, Isabella. You are quite safe with us. I shall give you and England a great victory.
The king is most gratified by your show of support, madam.
Of course. I hope that...
Madam, is something wrong?
I thought, Sir Hugh, that the enemy were approaching from the north.
Yes, madam, that's where they live. They're Scots.
Then whose is that army behind us?
Sir, we must retreat. Now, or we're lost.
Not again!
My lord!
You must save yourself. For the nation. You are too precious to lose.
For the Queen! We can't leave her. She can shift for herself. You don't understand, Hugh. When my father captured Bruce's wife and sister, he had them caged in the open for all to see and mock.
She's your wife, Ned. She understands where her duty lies.
We must go at once, sir!
Won't it look bad?
Not as bad as us, in a cage. Ja! Don't get up.
I wasn't going to.
Not what you're used to, my lord. Hard commons in the tower, they tell me.
No, not for a soldier, Dispenser.
We'll do our best to see you don't have to put up with them for long.
For long or short, it's all the same to me, and so far, well, your best hasn't really been good enough, has it? Any news of the Queen, or is she still lost somewhere in the mists?
I believe Her Majesty was able to find a Flemish ship. She's on her way back to London as we speak.
Did I hear 2 of her women died during her lucky escape? I think that...
I have no idea what you hear, and it matters very little what you think, Mortimer. Anymore.
But what does England think? Not very Lancelot, is it? Deserting the lady.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. You'll be dragged naked and upside down on a pallet from here to Tyburn. The crowd are at liberty to throw anything they wish at you, and it will be a big crowd and a long, slow journey. At the gallows you will be hanged until you are half dead, then lowered so your cot may be cut off and your bowels pulled out of your belly and burnt in front of you. You will be alive and feeling pain during all of this, of course. Then your body will be cut in pieces and buried at the 4 corners of the city, which means that come the resurrection you will be incomplete and thus unresurrected. The king will sign the warrant tonight. Sleep well.
A man dies once in this world, but a coward dies 12 times a day.
You know, I think I'll have them pull out your tongue. before they cut off your cod.
So, would they send me a priest to ease my conscience on my last night on Earth? Was that a comfort too far?
My lord.
It's well you come in darkness, Dolsby.
It's the feast of St. Peter.
What's that to me?
The patron saint of the tower. Downstairs, they're celebrating. They're drunk.
I'd rather stay sober if I'm to die.
I said you had friends. They don't intend that should happen. Come with me.
How can I trust you?
My lord, they're going to cut off your bollocks and burn your guts in front of you tomorrow. There's a choice. It's good wine. They'll drink well and sleep better. Hurry.
Where are we going? How do we get out of here?
I don't. You do. This way. Up the steps. At the top, you'll find a rope ladder. Push it over. There'll be a boat waiting. Now, go, my lord.
Thank you.
Go.
Got you. Now, step lively there.
Who are you? Where do we go?
Downriver to the coast. We've the tide with us.
Well, let's hope God's with us, too.
Now, cover yourself and stay silent until we're well clear.
I thought that day I was finished with the tower, but such is the wheel of fortune. The tower was not yet finished with me. But for then, for the morning, I was free.
Wake up, my lord. We're there. Well, here. Ahoy, ship.
Ahoy, Skiff. You've cargo for us?
That we do.
Well, madam.
Sir?
You are well?
I am safe.
As am I. And I have you to thank for it. I don't know what to say. The king...
left me to die in a cage, for all he knew. The king who imprisons mothers, wives, and children, who taxes London to death. I do not like to see what Dispenser is doing to this country. To... my friends.
We are friends, then, madam.
Do you doubt it?
Sometimes it's difficult to know.
Sometimes it is better to listen to our heart.
They often take us to places it may be unwise to go.
And yet we go there all the same. You go to France. To my brother the king.
Then... Isabella, come with me.
Because I'll be safe.
A woman is old who sets no warrior's heart afire. A woman is old if she stays faithful to her sire.
A woman, but not a queen.
We have a choice.
There's the prince. As long as the king has my son, he has me.
But there must be a way.
Then find it, Roger. And find it quickly. Because I don't think I have much time. Goodbye.
Majesty.
Sir Hugh, I am in church.
I had noticed.
I didn't think you hadn't. I'm in church. I am praying.
You had better.
What?
That you had nothing to do with the escape of the traitor Mortimer.
Do you know who you're talking to?
He's in France with your brother, King Charles. I know very well, madam.
And you dare accuse me?
Of nothing at all. I merely shared my hope, and the king's hope, that in no way did you, even unintentionally, aid this man.
I was not aware that you were the keeper of the king's hopes, Sir Hugh.
Mortimer is dangerous. He's a capable leader. He has a following, and...
You have not made the king popular.
Not the king's business to be popular.
Agreed.
Ordained by God. By God he rules.
You forget, Sir Hugh, I am the daughter and sister of kings. I know this. I only regret that my husband has not asked more often for my support.
You are the queen. You are his support.
Yes. And I would have hoped that he might have valued me a little more in the recent Scottish campaign.
I noticed that you said nothing about that since your return.
I don't want to embarrass him. I want to be queen. And have a role to play.
So we can be assured of your loyalty, madam?
No. The king can be assured of my loyalty.
My sister always was as devious as the devil's daughter, but this Sir Mortimer escapes me.
Well, the Queen writes, I pray that the old question of who owns Gascony does not arise again, for if it did, then war between England and France might only be averted by an embassy which includes the king himself. For only a monarch or his queen might settle such a vexed question for a certainty. And there you have it, Your Majesty.
Not quite, sir.
As long as England has a weathercock king, there can never be a strong alliance. Despencer distrusts France, Ned distrusts France.
That could be useful to France.
Well, as much as a war brings out the best in us both, sir.
Money is short. Wars are expensive. Trade, on the other hand...
Exactly. If you offer to negotiate monarch to monarch...
He comes to France. What is gained?
Well, he dare not. That's what the Queen knows. Last time he left the country, the barons destroyed Pierce Gaveston. He will never risk Despencer in the same way. Put your offer, sir, and the only person he can send of sufficient birth is...
Father, I have come to confess.
What have you come to confess, daughter?
I am thirsty after my voyage.
Then follow me to more comfortable quarters. Isabella.
They order these things differently in France, then. We are private. Secret.
As the confessional. The wheel of fortune plunges a man down and lifts him up to the heights, it seems.
The prince is still in England.
But you are here.
I am here. And... how, sir, have you been since I
have been reading the Troubadours. Your favourite. Bertrand de Born.
I hope, sir, you have been improved and entertained?
Oh, very much. At the sound of her soft-spoken words, at the sight of her sweet smile, at the glimpse of white teeth behind red lips, and her body so slender and delicate, pale, arrayed in smooth silk, rose pink, then my heart stands still in my breast, and possessing her, then I possess.
No word from France? Nothing yet. It's early times. And the Queen? Our own people surround her. Bishop Winchester sends daily reports. She has met with her brother twice over the past 2 weeks. Otherwise, she stays sequestered. Her only visits are to churches and abbeys.
She was always fond of saints' relics. She used to collect pilgrimage badges when she was a girl, you know.
She doesn't strike me as devout.
How would you recognize devotion here?
I can recognize loyalty, sir.
Is she loyal?
She's loyal to her expenses. If we wish, we can always cut off her funds and summon her home.
But first, we must settle this business of Gascony. I simply can't afford another foreign blunder after the Scottish affair.
Agreed. We keep a watching brief, then.
Majesty, you have finished your devotions?
Indeed I have, Winchester.
Look,
Uplifted, quite.
I always feel so very relaxed after a full examination of my conscience and a totally honest and open confession of my sins and desires, don't you?
Oh, of course, Majesty, but we can't spend all our hours at worship. I'm afraid I have to record its mundane matters.
Baking bread. Can you smell it? Oh, France is so alive.
In England, madam.
It's still raining there, I expect.
They look for progress in the negotiations. The king's patience
Is as short as his temper. You are in contact?
And by courier with the First Minister?
Of course. We need to breathe things to a head, yes?
Indeed, yes.
Then I will see my brother the king as soon as possible. And then we may call a meeting and send to England for instructions.
Of course. The First Minister did mention that the royal purse is not bottomless. There is, he instructed me to tell you, a limit. I do not mean to be...
Bishop, it is a privilege to have your advice and support at this time. I know you desire only the best for me. I thank you for your concern.
Oh. It comes from loyalty and devotion, madam.
Of course. And I hope that you will attend my meeting with King Charles, where, as always, I depend upon your strength and support. The fat fool!
The bishop's in love with you.
No, he's in love with himself, in love with me.
Well, that's beyond me.
He's self-regarding and ambitious.
Well, he's sharp for all that.
Well, so is a sword. But without a hand, it's useless.
So we make sure it's our hand.
Stop. If... Once the prince is here in France, Roger, dare we choose to do it?
Dispenser has my lands. My family is in prison. The king rules as a tyrant. The country...
The barons and magnates, at least. And the cities. And the lesser merchants.
All suffer from Dispenser's greed. They'll support us if it saves them money and looks legal. And with the prince on his father's throne, it will be legal.
They'll support us if we win.
If God means for this to happen, it will happen. If we dare to say, we will pull down this king and his minister.
We will pull down this king and his minister.
She said what, Bishop? That her brother, the King of France, is prepared to settle the matter of Gascony if Prince Edward is installed as its lord and gives proper homage to Charles. The king will also knight him and sign a treaty to that effect. It would be a triumph.
You are certain, Winchester, that she is playing straight?
She is the queen, my lord. That's true, Hugh. You can't mistrust the whole world.
Ah.
Father, you called for me. Hello, Hugh.
Prince.
My Lord Bishop.
Sir. My boy. How would you like to be Duke of Gascony and knighted by the King of France?
Knighted? Father? Really? Now?
Now? Well, within a few weeks.
I should love it more than anything else in the world, Father.
And mind, you'll be representing me and England in front of all those Frenchmen.
Oh, I shan't let you down.
I know you won't, my dear. Bishop Winchester will be with you to offer advice.
And Mother will be there?
Of course.
Now, Prince, there are a few points we should go over together before you leave. I'll prepare a protocol and we can work it through.
Of course, my lord. Oh, Father? Can I take my hawks? I bet they're better than anything the French have got.
I bet they are too.
I don't understand. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I wish this was something you didn't have to worry about.
But aren't I being knighted? And what about Gascony, Mother?
Gascony will be yours in good time. But first, there's something else I have to do. And you can help me do it, Edward. Just as Mortimer is helping. It's something very important.
I'm not going to be flying my hawks, am I?
I'm sorry, sir, but not this time.
What is it?
Sometimes things go wrong. People listen to the wrong advice, and what they do as a consequence is also wrong.
It can happen to anyone, and mostly things can be set right if the person will only listen to good advice.
Sometimes, however much good advice is offered, people don't listen. They listen instead to bad advice, and things get worse and worse.
Until everything is spoiled and lost.
You're talking about Father-in-law Dispenser, aren't you?
Yes, my love. We are.
Dispenser cares only for himself, and when he talks, all the good things the king wants get lost and never happen. It's as if there's a voice saying to you, eat sweetmeats. It doesn't matter as long as you enjoy yourself. The rest can go hang.
Dispenser must go.
And Father?
If he listens, all will be well again.
And if he doesn't? I will be king, won't I?
There'll be a regency. But yes, you'll be king.
And Father will not be harmed.
I swear it. He will not be harmed.
And so do I.
Mother, have you thought that everything you said about Father and bad advice could as easily be about you and the Earl?
Ned was my brother. I wouldn't be here if there was any other way.
You said, Earl, that the rest could go hang. If anything bad happens to Father, if you break your word, then you will hang. I swear it!
Are we complete fools, Roger?
I dare to love the Queen of England, and
She to love you.
it seems to me there's nothing we can't reach for and grasp if we truly desire it.
Fool! You horse-swiving priest! Oh, you arse-brained cleric! You turd-eating, fat-breath son of a bitch bastard, donkey-shagging cesspit of a... She led you by the god, didn't she? My lord, how... I mean, she seemed so... Sweet, womanly, clinging, loving, helpless. It's what they do! But she was the queen! Who happens to be whoring her arse and everything else she's got to that pricksman Mortimer. She's a... You... She-wolf. Bishop, every pulpit in the country this Sunday, the she-wolf of France, who has turned on her own kind and... You...
Creeps in the night like an assassin to stab English babies in the cradle.
Yes, that's the stuff. Bishop, if you want to live beyond Sunday, make it happen. Oh, my lord, of course it will be done. My word. Go. Do it! So where do we stand? Where do they stand?
In Suffolk, Mortimer's got no more than 1,500 men.
What about our ships?
Well, they were blown off course before they could intercept the landing.
Never mind. We have the numbers. Hugh, call in the muster. I want 50,000 men, fully armed and ready to march. Get letters of conscription out to all lords and domains that owe us service, and issue a reward for the traitor's head. £1,000. Obviously, I want the prince protected, and we'd better not harm Isabella the...
She-wolf of France.
Exactly. Let's get it done and scotch this thing before it starts.
An unlucky expression. Ned had never had much luck with the Scots, and he wasn't to have any better now in England. He and Dispenser had spent years upsetting, offending, insulting, and robbing just about every powerful man in the country. They weren't about to do him any favours in return, and they certainly weren't about to put their lives on the line for Hugh Dispenser.
I come to you for sanctuary, my Lord Abbot. As a wife wronged. A mother who fears for her son's future. As a woman weak and helpless. I throw myself upon the mercy of Almighty God and the charity of the people of England. My husband has turned me away. whilst he follows the advice of pride and ambition and greed in an unnatural relationship that dare not face the light of the Church's truth.
How many? Well, none, really. I mean, compared to what he's getting. For every man we pull in, he's buying half a dozen. The thing is, sir... The thing of it is... They don't like you.
No, Hugh. The thing of it is... They don't like you.
The young prince needs you, Englishmen. He needs your support to avenge the terrible insult done to his sacred and holy mother. Aye! The mothers of England call for the young and the brave to take up arms and throw down this tyranny! This tyrant, dispenser, who insults his followers with pay for an archer of 2pence a day! We spit at your 2pence! True-born Englishmen deserve 3 times that! Yes! 6pence a day to follow the prince!
Step forward, lad.
Behold your king!
We should go, sir.
Go where?
Well, abroad, probably. I don't think it's safe for us anymore in England.
Speak for yourself, Hugh. I'm still the king, and I intend to stay that way.
For as long as Isabella and Mortimer allow it.
The people, the ordinary folk...
Please, Ned, stop it. For the first time in 100 years, master and man are united in one cause.
But she's an adulterer. He's a betrayer. They're mired in mortal sin.
They haven't been within 10 miles of each other since they landed. She plays the deserted wife. She stays at abbeys. She prays ceaselessly. Confesses every day. Old Henry on his knees for Tom Becket didn't give a better show than the she-wolf. And Mortimer, he's just the loyal soldier who wants to put a good-looking 14-year-old boy on the throne of England. What's not to love in that?
It's all over, isn't it? You go. I'll wait.
God tells us straight, gentlemen. An unwise king destroys his people. So I say, is it the will of this Parliament that the king be deposed and his son...
Will they do it? I've talked to every man of consequence in the country and persuaded or bought them. They'd better.
Let it be done! Let it be done! Let it be done! Let it be done! Let the prince be brought in!
Remember, sir, no harm to my father.
God save the king!
May I come in?
I have no choice in them, Roger.
Are they?
It's not like you to be unsure. Are they leaving rotten meat outside the bars in the hope I'll catch the plague and die? Yes. Are they feeding me as little as they can in the hope I'll sicken and die? Yes. Do they make an infernal noise night and day in the hope I'll take my own life and die? Yes.
I did not want this, Ned.
I've known you since you were a little boy, Roger. You've always known exactly what you wanted. Please don't lie to me. For the first time in my life, I've found level ground to stand on. I'm not disappointing anyone. I'm not listening to anyone. There's no pit inside me now. At last, I am who I am.
I wish to God you could have found it earlier. Hugh Despenser was hanged, drawn and quartered.
He would have done the same to you.
He was brave.
Does that matter?
It matters to me.
Then I hope you will be brave when it's your turn. I know you promised my son no harm would come to me.
And none will.
I am the turd around which the flies of revolt will cluster. You can't let me live, so it will happen, and my son will not forget. I tell you now, Roger, if you cannot kill him, and you cannot, then as sure as we hope for God's mercy, you will face your own gallows.
Ned, as far as it makes any difference, Isabella rules, I advise, and the young king listens.
But one day, you'll be talking to him, advising him, and you'll look into his eyes, and you'll see he's no longer listening. There's only a wall so high you'll never scale it, and behind that wall will be King Edward III. And unlike his father, God forgive me, he will be his own man. Goodbye, Roger.
My father was right. Once Mortimer had power, and the love of my mother, he found that a man can never have enough land, enough wealth, enough vengeance, or enough power. And the king, that turd to the gathering of flies, had to be cleared away. In the end, I believe he would have turned on me and made himself King of England. I could not let that happen. I had vowed that if he harmed my father, then it would be upon his own head. And so it was.
They're waiting, sir.
Yes. Yes, of course. No word from the Queen Mother?
No word from the Queen Mother. And we have your word, sir. You will not speak her name on the scaffold.
As I have the King's word, I will die on the rope and not suffer to have my guts drawn out and burned.
It has been agreed. You know that.
Then there's no point in waiting around, is there? Let's get to it.
They say he died well, as a soldier should. That's what he was in the end. A soldier. My soldier. England's soldier. I have no part in public life anymore. My son, Ned's son, became what Ned always wanted to be. A great king. Would it have come about if we hadn't dared to think the unthinkable? To choose to throw down a king and become lovers? Roger and his Isabella.
In Plantagenet by Mike Walker, Edward II was played by Sam Troughton, Isabella by Hattie Morahan, Mortimer by Tristan Gravel, Despenser by Jonathan Forbes, and Prince Edward by Joseph Samrai. Other parts were played by Sean Baker, Simon Bubb, James Lailey, Peter Polycarpou, Daniel Rabin, and Alan Raglan. Plantagenet is directed by Jeremy Mortimer and Jessica Dromgoole. Plantagenet by Mike Walker. Richard II. And all our dreams will end in death. With Patrick Kennedy as Richard II and Blake Ritson as Henry Bolingbroke.
My grandfather was the greatest king England ever had. My father was the greatest king England never had. My mother was the most beautiful woman in Europe. Where on earth do you go from there? Well, I invented the handkerchief. Not a small thing, believe me. Manners, you see. Good manners mean you don't leave snot on the floor. In court, everywhere. When I was a boy and my father took me to see grandfather at a state occasion, I used to laugh when some great lord slid across the marble and went flat on his back. The king, the courtiers, they all thought it was really funny. Oh, look, Sir William de Bohun fell on his arse. Ha, 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 ha. That's what they thought. Sometimes I wish I'd been French. Let me tell you how it was then. And to do that, I need to tell you about the war and France. You see, they went together. Had done forever, really. But after the first Edward, my great-great-grandfather, things simmered down a bit. Uneasy truce. Then, after the second Edward died, and the third Edward took the throne, there was a crisis in France over the succession, and Grandfather Edward thought he should be king. And off he went with an army and my father, the Black Prince, to Cressy. Triumph of English tactics, courage and honour.
Now listen, all of you! The French have us by the balls! But as long as we hold steady and our archers keep up regular fire, we can come through this! No plundering of the wounded on the battlefield. Afterward, fine, but any man who stops fighting is going to stop living. I guarantee it. Now, get a good night's rest. The French attack with the dawn. So it's an early start. Early start! Early finish!
What are they cheering about over there? We outnumbered them 3-1. Come the morning, come our revenge. The army will stop for the night. Ensure each man gets a proper meal and the chance to hear mass, also.
As you order, Majesty. It shall be done.
Hold up! Hold up! Great chap!
It's a big army, Father.
The French are fighting old wars with old methods. The longbow and the cannon are going to change everything for us.
I can see that, but shouldn't they be stopping?
What?
The French. They're still advancing.
They can't be. They can. What is he up to? It's madness. Fighting after a day's march with the sun in your eyes.
Looks like that's what they intend, Father.
Then let's get off our asses and do something! Captains! Trumpeters! Sound general alarm! Sergeants, to your division!
And also, why aren't they stopping?
They can't. The momentum, the mass of men. They can't slow down or turn back without getting trampled by those coming on behind.
In the name of God, they'll be slaughtered. They must halt.
Not even God can stop them now.
Then we attack. Send the crossbowmen through first, and by Saint-Denis we shall gain the day. Or the night.
Steady, lads. Steady. Wait till they load.
Now!
Fire when they charge, Sergeant. If nothing else, it'll terrify their horses.
Don't know about the horses. They terrify me, sir.
Now!
Gunners! Prepare to fire!
Here they come!
Majesty, you must go now!
Is there nothing to be done, Alonso?
In the dark! With no moon, we can't even see our enemy! If we retreat now, we can fight another day!
Then so be it. Sound the recall! And let every man look to himself!
10,000 Frenchmen died that night. You might say it was the victory of chance over error. Yes, the archers made a difference. The French had never experienced anything like them before. But mostly it was a tired, disorganized army blundering into a rested, tightly controlled force in a good defensive position.
Oh, my stars. Look at those jewels.
But victory wasn't just about glory.
If they ain't rubies, my name ain't Dickon. Boys, we're all gonna be as rich as kings.
That was all before I was born. As for my childhood, well, they'd married for love, my father and mother. How often does that happen in this world? Of course, my mother had married for love before. Twice. First time when she was 11. But neither of them was going to be King of England. So you could say she was ambitious. I remember at the joust, some joust, there were so many, saying to Mother, "Papa is the best knight in the world, isn't he, Mama?"
Of course he is, my sweet. The bravest and the best of them all. Look at how he rides. Look at him, Richard. Look at his bearing. He rides like a king-to-be. He rides like a conqueror. He's our champion, Richard. He's England's champion.
And I said, "Does he kill people?"
Of course.
But isn't killing bad? Simon Burley said we should forgive our enemies. Simon was my tutor, and he did, and I was a boy, and I really thought killing people was bad.
Well, you see, Richard, that's for the ordinary people. But kings and princes are different. Now, here he comes. Our champion.
That's my father, Black Prince.
Madam, to you I present the trophies of the joust. Do with them as you will.
Sir, I give them liberty as brave and honourable knights. Your knights.
Well said, lady.
Hello, lad. What fun, eh?
Yes, Father, I said. You were the best of all.
That's what we do, boy. We're the best. We rule. Won't be long before you start your training. Bet you can't wait to strap on a sword and get a frisky mare between your thighs.
Sir, you are forward.
Not as forward as I'm going to be tonight, sweeting.
That was the sort of thing they laughed at. Still do, for all I've tried to change things. Even Chaucer does it. Swiving jokes, arse jokes, fart jokes. What is funny about a fart? Anyway, I grew up in Aquitaine. My father had taken it from the King of the French, and it was full of light and colour and music, and sometimes I thought that music and colour and light were better than war and conquest and killing. But I didn't say anything because I was a child, and I had to learn how to be a king. My father's last great battle was at the siege of Limoges. He was already ill by then. The Black Prince, the great hero of the world, had been struck down by some sickness of the body or soul. He was carried on his litter, his brother beside him. Oh, yes, my Uncle John. John of Gaunt, he was there. He was everywhere.
Still no surrender.
We've sent word, but the bishop says no.
He was supposed to be my bishop, John. I made him Richard's bloody godfather and paid him enough.
Tricky bastards, these bishops, brother. Never let him out of your sight, I say.
Well, this one can go to the devil. As soon as I get my hands on him. Not that these hands are worth much.
Easy, brother. You'll get better in time.
Time I don't have, John.
The sappers have undermined the walls near the east gate. We're ready to torch the props on your command.
Have mercy on us. You have our seat, Bishop.
I offered you quarter. You chose not to take it. Now, I choose not to give it.
Kill them all! All, brother? From the oldest man to the newest baby. All!
He died soon after, the Black Prince, the flower of the chivalry of England, at night without reproach. And my mother got fat, and my grandfather had a miserable, lonely old age with a grasping mistress everyone hated, and the new French King Charles took back all the land we had won, and the Black Death took back half the people in Europe. And then my grandfather died, tired and alone. Really, there was one priest sitting beside him, and that was it. The greatest king England ever had one miserable monk praying as he went to glory. Oh, they gave him a wonderful funeral. And I was king. Only, of course, I wasn't. I was too young, so there was a council. My uncles, John of Gaunt.
France is feeling her power. She's taken back most of what great Edward won. Now she has hungry eyes for England.
Uncle Gloucester,
Kick their bloody French asses.
who always had a lot to say.
The French are raiding the south coast towns daily. We cannot put up with this.
And my Chancellor, de la Pole.
Agreed, my lord, but can we afford war?
A self-made man. Brilliant and ambitious.
Oh, you would say that, Pole. I say we can't not afford war.
£50,000 a year for those garrisons we still have. Crown jewels in hock to the bankers. What do you suggest?
We know the French. We know their aims. If we don't face them over there, we shall assuredly have to face them over here.
Then, the only solution is to tax the people.
The people are taxed.
Then tax them harder, man.
A head tax on every soul in the country.
Set at?
Fourpence.
That's ruinous. They'll never stand for it.
Then let them lie for it. Oh, we'll call it a poll tax, so you get the blame.
My lord, the people will know exactly who to blame. Your brother Gaunt is already the most unpopular man in the nation. You think he seeks to become king?
Let him who believes it say it to my face.
Can you fight a nation?
I can fight the French, and may I remind you, the bloody Scots who have allied themselves to their cher cousin. We need action this day. I say we take this measure to Parliament and ask them to vote.
Agreed.
I don't like it. But we must present a united front. Agreed. Poll tax it is.
More taxes? What did they think would happen?
Bondage or servitude came in by the unjust oppression of bad men. Therefore, think on this, brothers and sisters. When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then the gentleman?
Gaunt was in the north fighting when the revolt happened. I was in the tower with my cousin, Henry.
Look, smoke. They're setting the city on fire.
Actually, Henry, I think it's your dad's palace at the Savoy.
My God! We should ride out and ride them down, the bastards. Who do they think they are?
Overtaxed Englishmen.
Oh, come on, stop being so reasonable, Richard. Don't you want to get out there with a sword in your hand and cut a few heads off? It's the only thing they understand, you know. Force. My father would say it.
Your father would say it. But the mob just melts away. They know the land, Henry. It's their land.
Be buggered, it's our land.
They say they work it all their lives for very little reward.
You don't agree with them.
They're rebels and scum, but they're still Englishmen. And all the things we want to do, fight wars and build cathedrals...
I never wanted to build a cathedral.
They're paying for it.
Sometimes I just don't understand you, Richard. And the people were happy enough to go to France with your father and rob them blind and shag their wives and daughters.
I can see that, Henry, but I can also see that I don't have an army behind me.
You've got me, Richard.
I know. And I promise they will, or at least their leaders will pay for this, because no king can allow the people to tell him what to do. My father taught me that. If you're king, be king.
But the council won't let you be king. They say...
The council got us into this mess. I say maybe this is the moment when I show them all what I can do. Are you with me, Henry? I need you.
Of course, Your Majesty. I wouldn't be anywhere else.
My lord, this is not advisable.
Are you the King's advisor or the Lord Mayor, Walworth?
You know what I am, sir.
Then be mayor and not an advisor. The King knows what he's doing. Don't you?
Of course. I'm riding a horse whilst trying very, very hard not to crap myself.
That's the spirit, Richard. Give him hell!
That was Henry Bolingbroke all over. He thought I was joking. I wasn't. I'd met the rebels twice and promised to listen with sympathy to their requests. Actually, I'd had no choice. Sometimes it seemed as if they were beyond any common sense at all. Their leaders, Jack Straw, the priest, John Ball, and above all, Wat Tyler, had only to say the word, and I think they'd have stormed heaven itself. The city was in flames. I agreed to meet with Tyler face to face at Smithfield's. Before we set off, I went to church and prayed as I had never prayed before. Oh, Lord, you know I'm not... I mean, I don't know what's going to happen today. And whatever happens, my soul is in your hands. And please help me to be the king who can bring peace to this nation. And give me the strength to be firm if I must, and merciful if I can, and just please, help me get through today, and tomorrow we'll see. We'll see.
Look at them. Bloody rabble. Pray God the wind changes before we all choke.
Sire, I really think you should allow your escort to go forward first.
Lord Mayor, if you saw armed men, would you want to talk? I think it best if you ride over to them.
Me?
You look fairly harmless. And ask this man Tyler to come forward.
But your majesty...
Go on, Woolworth, earn your money.
He's wearing armor under his robes.
Let's hope he doesn't need it. A silence fell. It was like the dead of night, but the sun was out, low in the west. Our shadows fell long across the stones, as black as ravens, and as ominous. I could smell wet straw burning, and there was a column of smoke rising up, like something solid, into the evening sky. And a child crying, and birds circling overhead. Then, from out of the crowd, he appeared, riding on a small brown horse. Wat Tyler. At that moment, the most powerful man in England. He came forward, confidently, as if he was the king, and I and the rest of us. His face was lined. He was a man of the fields, as we were men of the court.
Well, are we to be sitting here all day getting hard asses and no answers? Shake my hand.
Stay back!
No, Henry, it's all right. Tyler, I will shake your hand.
And be easy, brother. For in a fortnight you'll have 40,000 good friends, common men of England by your side.
Then why won't you go back to your villages and fields?
By God's holy heart, brother, you ask me that? We have not come on our knees. We want a charter of rights for every man to stand on his own 2 feet on his own earth.
And then?
Oh, you know what we want. An end to serfdom, aye, and an end to lordship too. God never made this world so one man could stamp on the face of another by right. A few less bishops, I'd say a good few, but the buggers wouldn't know what good meant if it gobbed in their faces. And church lands turned over to the people, but above all, no poll tax.
Tyler, you will have all I can fairly grant. But now, you and your people must go back to your villages.
It's hot. I need water. Tell them to bring me water.
Someone. We stood facing each other, waiting, whilst they found water. I didn't know what was going to happen. No one did.
Here, Tyler.
But everyone expected blood.
Better?
All right, you've had your drink. Now do as the king tells you. Go home.
Are you the king, boy?
Are you?
If I say the word...
Enough! Mayor Woolworth escort Tyler back to his people so he can tell them to disperse.
Very well, sir. Tyler, come.
Take your hands off me. No man touches me.
You're no more than a thief. Damn you!
Hold back!
Damn you, Tyler!
Knives flashed, blood on the stones. Tyler's blood, black as pitch. Woolworth's knife.
Form a defensive ring!
Tyler rode back towards his people. I saw him against the low sun, red and gold now. I saw his figure become lost in the brightness, as if indeed he were being taken up. I blinked, turned my head away, and when I looked again, the saddle was empty, and he lay, bleeding his life out onto the stones. A silence fell for the second time that day, but this one full of anger, as if some child of wrath was ready to be born, howling for blood and revenge. The crowd shivered and began to groan. I rode forward.
You can't, sire!
Form up! Keep it tight!
It was the longest, hardest ride I had ever taken, until the last that leads me to heaven. And for all I knew, I was heaven-bound that day. Thousands of faces staring at me. In anger, pain, uncertainty. A blackbird, wounded, one wing broken, was flopping on the cobbles. Where had it come from? What did it mean?
Englishman! You need no captain but me. I am Richard. I am your king. Follow me, and you will have what you desire.
Right! We'll follow the lad! Yeah! We'll follow the king!
It was over. Oh, it took months before everything was quiet and those who had to be punished were punished, but mostly people went home and they got on with their lives. Nothing changed. How could it? The way things are has been ordained by God. But for me, over the next year I began to see my own way forward. And as the anniversary of Tyler's death came round and went round peacefully,
Richard Plantagenet.
I changed.
Anne of Bohemia.
I got married. I will.
I will.
And,
They told me England would be cold and full of bears.
well, I think there are bears in Scotland, or maybe Ireland, but you can see it isn't cold. Or maybe they meant boars. We have boars. We hunt them.
In Germany, we have to listen to them in church every Sunday.
Perhaps we could hunt your boars and listen to ours, although ours probably taste better than yours.
I should hate to eat a bishop. I'm sure I would get indigestion.
Now, you see, they told me that no one from Germany has a sense of humour.
And they told me the food would be terrible and uneatable.
But you like jokes.
And you serve me delicious food.
Well, they weren't all wrong. To be honest, most Englishmen just want it red and roasted and lots of it. But that doesn't have to be the way it is. I care how food tastes and how it looks. They all think I'm completely mad. My friend Henry says it ends up in the same place, so why worry? But that's wrong.
I think so too, Richard. Otherwise, why marry a handsome husband?
Or a beautiful wife. And there's another thing. Beards.
I hate beards. I've always hated beards. Horrible, scratchy things.
My feelings exactly. No beard. I am literally the only man I know who doesn't have one. Does that make me less of a man?
Anyone who thinks so may take a lesson from me. You are my perfect knight. You know, when I was a little girl, I used to dream of Parsifal. Do you know it?
I love Parsifal. I love books and pictures and music and pageantry. As much as I love you, Anne. You see, they don't read a lot here. They don't, to be honest, really think about things a lot. They just go ahead and generally hit it or plunder it. But there has to be a better way.
What is wrong with peace?
That's right, Anne. With peace comes everything that most Englishmen don't value. We're so much better than an armoured fist smashing into someone's face.
Well, you are the king.
Yes. Yes, I really am the king. I showed that at Smithfield's.
Then show your people.
Could I? That day I felt my father in me, his strength and certainty. But it wasn't the Black Prince who rode out and did it. He'd have probably killed them all. I know that's what Henry wanted to do. But I was different. No one had ever done that before, Anne. Talked to those people and taken them out of harm's way. But I have no party.
At dinner, when I have no... Oh, what do you call it we ate last night?
Macaroni cheese?
So, if I have no cheese macaroni, I make my cheese macaroni.
If John of Gaunt and Gloucester, my uncles, had their party, I would have mine. My old tutor and friend, Simon Burley.
Richard, it's time.
And my new friend, Robert de Vere.
It's past time. You've proved yourself in the only theatre these men respect. You are a man of action.
And my sometime friend, Henry Bolingbroke.
Well, not exactly.
With all respect, it was splendid, Richard, but it wasn't action.
I didn't notice you doing anything, Henry.
They say you were wearing armour under your robes.
That was Woolworth de Vere. A true knight would never stoop to concealment. Oh, but then of course you wouldn't know, would you?
Now, lads, let's not be at each other's throats. We're here as the King's friends.
Well, are we?
Well, you've known me as long as you've known Simon Burley here. I seem to remember he beat us both on occasion.
Only when you deserved it, Henry.
And as Bolingbroke was kind enough to point out, Simon and I depend upon your majesty. We neither of us have great wealth or land of our own. What we are flows from you, Richard. We are your men.
Henry?
I've always thought of myself as my own man first, but, of course, the King's man too, as are we all.
And yet it's no secret your father Gaunt's the most unpopular man in England.
Have a care, Vere, or you will be the deadest man in England!
You know, I think it's time we stop settling everything by denting armour. There has to be a better way forward than war.
Really? I've never heard of one. Besides, it's fun.
Well, there is art and music and romances and poems and architecture. A nation can express itself through all of those things. Henry.
Well, if you say so, Richard, but...
The arts of love.
I hunt the two-backed beast, De Vere. I don't romance it. You sound like a maiden.
I'm sure His Majesty knows as well as you do, my Lord Bolingbroke, when to apply the sword and when the softer arts.
I'm sure he does.
And is it unusual that a man recently married should think a little on the gentler arts?
Yes. My advice, Richard, is to give a wench a damn good... What? What?
Henry, because we are old friends, and because I permit a degree of intimacy between us, it does not mean we are equals. I am the king, and you are my subject. I will have respect. Anne of Bohemia is a beautiful, exceptional young woman, and my queen.
And her father is stony broke and sold her for what he could get. I mean, you did pay his debts.
It was a loan.
It was a sale. And in my book...
My lord...
Henry, don't.
That makes him a pimp.
Why did you do that?
Do what?
You know what you said.
I did nothing except speak plainly as we were taught.
Yes, when we were children, but this is a different world and there are different rules.
In my world, a man rules because he has the bollocks to do
And
so.
manners, where do they stand in your world?
Manners.
Perhaps, Henry, there is some important business to which you must attend.
Is there, Burley?
Now, my lord.
Yes, if His Majesty will be kind enough to excuse me.
You are excused. Henry. Look, maybe I was clumsy, but you are my friend. We are friends.
Of course. As you command.
I hope I was not the cause.
No, Henry was always like a spark to gunpowder. It runs in the family. They say the first Plantagenet was the devil's daughter, and old Henry used to chew the carpets in his rages. That's enough of squabbles. Now, both of you, we have government strategy to work out. We can call on Pole.
Certainly. One of the most capable men in England.
And like us, with no great fortune of his own.
No influence.
Ability means a lot, Richard.
Not with our birth or estate, it doesn't. Not in this country. I've ruled as a child long enough. If I'm going to be the king and make peace with France, then I need a party with clout.
Peace? I don't like the sound of that word.
Agreed, Gaunt. It has no place in this council.
I beg to disagree, my lords.
Well, Master Pole, you may disagree.
By the King's grace, I am made Earl of Sussex. I wish you would respect that.
I'm sure you do. Just because my nephew...
Your nephew is the king. Show respect for that, if nothing else, my lord. You are not invulnerable. No man is. You should remember it.
My lords. Gloucester, I heard your last words. Would you care to apologise?
To a jumped-up clerk?
To the king, uncle. Now, here. I am waiting.
Very well. I offer my apologies to you.
To your highness. Let's have some decent manners in this court, shall we?
I apologise to your highness.
Thank you. I know I can count on you and the other members of my council to push forward the king's policy of peace with France. My Lord Sussex.
Thank you, sir. Chance and weather have meant French invasion plans have come to less than nothing. Harvests are good. The country is quiet. And I have no need to remind this council of the role played by the king in the late revolt.
It's true, the king showed his mettle that day. I, at least, will not forget.
Thank you for that, Gaunt.
Tax revenues are healthy. If we don't use the money in war, then the nation as a whole can benefit.
Some say the king's favourites can benefit.
Yes, De Vere becomes Duke of Ireland. What is that?
A powerful voice on my side, Uncle, when he is appointed to this council along with Sir Simon Burley.
Placemen, Richard, do not make a council.
And insolence does not make wit, Uncle. The great lords may think they make policy in England, but they had better think again. Am I clear?
Overwhelmingly so.
Listen to me, Your Majesty. France is our natural enemy.
A nation without a decent war is weak, pale, womanly, unhealthy, and you simply can't trust the French.
So, you do not agree, Uncles both?
We do
we cannot.
Then this council need trouble you no further. You may leave.
What?
The king is dismissing you, my lords.
You're running mad, boy.
You're running mad, Your Majesty. The royal dukes are leaving.
And they went.
Not happily, but they went. I'm going to bring back some of my father's ministers.
Won't they be for war?
I think they'll be for the king. And with Burley and De Vere and a council led by Pole as Chancellor, we have a good chance of convincing the French we're serious about peace.
It will mean giving up land.
Nothing's gained for nothing.
And your uncles?
No one likes losing what they thought was theirs for good. Or evil.
But won't they...
Object, of course. But I think they'll come to see things my way. The sensible way.
I hope so, my love.
At first, it seemed as if it was going to be easy. There was a military expedition to Scotland that came to nothing. 2 armies wandering around in the rain, missing each other and going home wet. It came down to diplomacy, as in the end it always must. France was not so simple to settle, but I knew I could put treaties in place that would save lives and money. There was so much we could learn from our cousins, so much, though few Englishmen would ever admit it. What did I want? I wanted my court to be the most splendid and cultured in Europe. And we were on the way. Men of learning were no longer going abroad. They were bringing their talents and their work to my court. John Gower, Geoffrey Chaucer. I encouraged these men, and others too.
You can't have 2 balls in a thicket.
Burley's right. They'll fight. One will destroy the other.
That goes without question.
So the only question is...
Who destroys whom?
Well put, sir.
The young boar and the old boar.
Who strikes first wins, De Vere.
Who has the courage to strike first?
And yet there is the law.
And yet there is the king, and he must stand supreme.
Exactly, De Vere. The king is no one's delegate. There is no one above him except God.
John of Gaunt is my uncle.
It wouldn't be the first time in history.
Every time we make a step forward, there he is, tripping us, putting obstacles in our way. He's the most powerful man in England.
But I am the king.
Exactly. His presence is a constant danger to you and all you hope to accomplish. He's a problem that cannot be ignored. This boar must be hunted down.
But aren't we forgetting something here?
Majesty?
I believe this council is right.
What exactly are you doing here, Uncle Gloucester? I believe you were dismissed by the council.
I'm just trying to save the bloody country, Your Majesty.
We have opened negotiations with the French. There is no risk of invasion.
Not from the bloody French.
Show proper respect, my lord.
You're beginning to get on my nerves, Pole. Richard, people are discontented.
Not so.
They see the extravagance of the royal court, money wasted.
On building?
On feasting, on music, on unmanly diversions like reading romances, on absurd pointy shoes. They don't like it.
Oh, please, Uncle. They have no say in it. You mean you don't like it?
Well, cousin, I don't like it that you plotted to have my father assassinated.
That's a lie. And, Henry, you are not part of this council. You have no voice here.
Maybe not your order, Richard, but it was your people. Tell me you didn't intend to have him arrested at the Worcester Parliament. Can you look me in the eye and say it?
I am the king. I do not have to submit to these questions, particularly from the son of the most unpopular man in England. If I had him arrested, people would cheer.
My father's abroad. He's not a fool, Your Majesty. In fact, he's probably the man most fitted to manage the affairs of this
I'll
country.
hear no more of this, Henry. It's treachery.
Oh, listen to me, Richard.
Choose your words today carefully, sir, because they may hang you tomorrow.
Just listen! My father could have taken the throne a dozen times. No one would have hated him any more because of it, but he didn't. He's loyal.
He is against me, as are you, and Gloucester and the rest of them.
Well, you're not wrong there, Your Majesty. I am against extravagance, waste, frippery, and the promotion of unworthy men like De Vere and Burleigh and the Earl of Oxford here.
You say that because you believe you and your kind have a right to run the country. That is not so. The king is at the head. What you object to is not his extravagance or favourites, it's his power.
I can't hear you. I can't hear anything. Do you know why? Because I'm not listening to anything. Nobody is talking. There are no words.
Pole is my chief minister. I will not have you being disrespectful to him. You'll apologise, Gloucester, or I'll have your tongue pulled out with white-hot tongues.
You'll get your people to do it, will you?
Richard, listen.
I've listened to enough treason.
You're not a soldier.
Oh, what is it now? You get your sword out and kill someone?
But if you were, you would know that the clever general doesn't arrive on the battlefield without troops, supplies, and a strategy.
Bolingbroke, what have you done?
Oh, you should love this. It's very continental.
What are you babbling about?
They didn't like the Pope over there, so what did they do? They set up a Pope of their own in Avignon. Yes?
You threw us out of your council. So what did we do? We set up another, the Lords Appellant. We summoned Parliament to warn them of your attempts to undermine their authority. We feel certain that they won't stand for it.
But it's not true.
Richard, did you think that you were the only one who could lay a plot? Did you think we'd do nothing?
The king won't stand for it.
If he doesn't, he'll no longer be the king. You have to learn, Your Majesty. There is only one party in this country, and we are it.
Edward the Confessor was one of the greatest English kings. A good man, a holy man. Over the years, thousands have come to kneel at his tomb and ask his help and blessing. I don't know how many times I've knelt there myself.
It's made no bloody difference at all. They've set me aside for their own ends. Every time I get up off my knees and try to rule, they knock me down, Anne. They will not see me as a man. What do I have to do to show them? Kill everybody and plunge the country into civil war? Very well, then.
My love, you cannot.
I am the king. I am the king. I am the...
You are the king. And you are the man I love and the man I know to be a good man.
I'm no Edward Confessor.
Of course not. You are a man with all a man's faults, but above all, above what you are is what you want to be and what you hope for. Isn't that true?
All my people are either exiled or dead. Pole, the most capable politician in the country, fled abroad from my enemies. I'm alone.
You will never be alone as long as I live to stand by your side. We came together because of politics. We stay together because we found love.
It's strange, you know, all of us Plantagenets, we have in us a great capacity for love. Perhaps also for hate, but time after time, marriages that were made in the courts of Europe have become like love stories and the romances. Perhaps that is our glory.
Your glory will be to endure, Richard. For times change, but constancy remains. And the time will come when everything shall be different, and then you can act against those who stand in your way. For if I know one thing, it is that not one person on earth can hold back this world and our passage through it.
The king is... I am prepared to defer to the Lords Appellant, to their wishes and the wishes of Parliament, to be guided by their wholesome advice, to your advice without prejudice to the crown. I only ask of Parliament that they, in their mercy, spare the life of Sir Simon Burleigh, my tutor and friend.
What do? You took a tench and fillet him and fry him. And you make a layer of currants with wine and water. Then whole raisins of the sun and powdered ginger, add some cloves, some pepper, and place him in the sauce and seethe him with sugar of cypress and salt and bring him forth. And they will trample it all and grind it into the dirt beneath their boots because why? Because in the end it means nothing.
It means everything, Richard. It means that we care about each thing, not just one thing. Not only about power and who wields it.
Don't you see, my love? Power is the fire that sees the dish, otherwise it's just raw stuff and unfit to eat. And now they've condemned Burley to death, and whatever I may say or hope or believe, without power it is nothing.
Shh, without love it is nothing, my king. Think of our Lord. A carpenter, why, he might have been a sutler or a baker or a cook. Did he have armies and treaties? Did he have a mailed fist or vast lands or wealth and castles? He had none of these things, Richard. He was mocked and despised. He was whipped and crucified, and yet his words sound louder today than ever. Shh, it is his will that you are king. Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and tell all kinds of lies about you for his sake. Be glad, for your reward in heaven will be great.
I, Simon Burley, do commend my soul to God. My allegiance was ever to the King, whom I served honestly and to the best of my ability. I call in witness the fact that the King and his Queen Anne begged upon their knees the Duke of Gloucester and the Lords Appellant to exercise mercy. There was no mercy. So be it. I expect better of my Lord in heaven.
It was, I thought, the worst that could happen. I was wrong. You remember the Black Death, half Europe cut down. We thought it was gone and forgotten, but it hadn't forgotten about us. He came walking by, that soft-stepping gentleman in black, and stretched out his hand and ripped my heart living from my chest. He took my Anne, my queen, my love, because death wanted it so.
Sir, you cannot mean it.
Please don't question me, Chancellor.
It's a royal palace.
It was her palace. Now she is dead. She doesn't need it anymore. Burn it.
At least, sir, let us remove the goods, the hangings, the books alone must...
Do you disobey me? Do you whoreson of a bitch dare to disobey me? Will every stone, every brick, every clod of earth in the land disobey me? I will have my way! Burn it!
Weep, my heart, for I am crushed with care. We are but dust and shadows, our hopes and desire blind madness. And all our dreams will end in death.
Your glory will be to endure, Richard. For if I know one thing, it is that not one person on earth can hold back this world and our passage through it.
So I waited. Years. Nothing's happened. We even moved towards peace with France. Ministers came and went, and little by little I began to take note. Who amongst them did I trust? Who amongst them did not trust Gloucester and his party? And like footsteps on stone stairs, time began to wear away at the bonds, as fragile as silk and strong as steel that held me. Finally, I needed just one thing to place the key in that lock. and it was John of Gaunt who turned it. He came back.
He's too powerful.
Who?
My brother Gloucester. Who else?
Your son Henry?
You know Henry. All fire and fire.
He was one of them, Uncle, the Lord's appellant.
He was young.
I was young. We were the same age.
Time has passed. You've grown into the job. I've been watching you. Taking back what Gloucester and his council took away. As you built cathedrals, so you've rebuilt the monarchy. And now... I grieve for your loss. The Queen was a good woman.
Do you care?
I care about England. Can you believe that?
I must admit I find it hard.
I loved your father. He was my favourite brother, and I gave him my word I would support you. I didn't say I would always agree with you. I didn't say I would always like you, particularly when your idiot supporters convinced you I should be killed. I didn't say I wouldn't fight against you in council or parliament. I didn't say I'd like this, what do you call it, fashion. All these ridiculous colours and shoes you all wear at court. I didn't say I wouldn't go abroad to follow my own interests. But I did say I would stand by the legitimate king. And you are that man. Brother Gloucester is not.
Does he think he is?
I note that your Majesty has been in Nottingham.
Yes.
Used to be the home of Lord de Vere.
Yes.
And that you raised a company of archers there from amongst his people?
Yes.
Loyal to you?
Yes.
And your court?
Yes, they are loyal to me alone. But Gloucester and Warwick and the others are still powerful. As you know, Uncle, you are with them.
They believe. But if I'm not?
If you are not, I can move against them. The price?
England and the throne secure. And, of course, Henry.
Henry betrayed the oath of loyalty, and he betrayed me. We were friends. The price?
The price, Your Majesty.
Very well. Henry is safe.
Who calls at this hour?
The King would have a few words with the Duke of Gloucester.
The King?
Your Majesty.
No need for ceremony, it's just a visit.
At this hour?
I was in the area, Uncle. I thought I'd see how you were. I heard you were ill.
I am getting better, they tell me. But let me call for wine, food, I'm sure
Nothing, thank you, my lord.
Nothing?
Oh, there is this.
A candle?
No need, I can tell you. It's a warrant issued by Parliament for the arrest and trial of the appellant lords on charges of treason against the king.
This is nonsense. It cannot be.
I can assure you, it is.
You'll never get away with it.
I can assure you I did. I simply offered Parliament a better deal.
I have allies, supporters. We will not allow... oh, I see. No mention of Henry Bolingbroke here. Brother John, taken care of then. No point in looking for help there, I suppose.
I suppose not.
I never thought you had it in you, Richard. I must say, for the first time, you surprised me.
Well, I must leave you now. I have other arrests to oversee. You'll be well cared for. Have no concerns about that.
Cared for? Don't make me laugh, boy.
Then try this. You really must learn, Uncle. There is only one king in this country, and it's me. He never reached court. An unfortunate accident. The others were tried and condemned. And I ruled. And the court began, at last, to resemble something like a court. Music, learning, art, and literature began to flourish in this country as they'd never been allowed to before. We were celebrated throughout Europe, and our great men wielded more than swords and battle axes. God, they say, grants all our wishes, but never quite as we want them. And man had a saying. Man plan, Gott lacht. Man plans, God laughs. I had made what I wanted, but the person I most wanted to share it with was no longer beside me. I was angry. I wanted to strike back at God, at them, at all of them who had always stopped me, who I believed had driven Anne to her death. There was no more laughter, no more jokes, and then it was as if God had given me what I wanted.
You may sit. My lords, gentlemen, we have this day heard the sad news of the death of John of Gaunt, our uncle and great mainstay. We shall not see his like again. We shall not, because I hereby disinherit his son, Henry Bolingbroke. He will not succeed to the titles, the land, or the revenues of his father. These will revert to the crown. Bolingbroke is declared outlaw on the grounds of his membership of the Lords Appellant, and numerous other grievous offences. If he should put one foot on English soil, it is the duty of every Englishman to arrest the traitor and bring him to justice before the courts. Thank you.
Mistake. Big mistake. Never condemn a man as a traitor.
When you haven't got his bollocks firmly in your fist. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Henry. I could say what brings you back to England, but then I know, don't I? My throne.
Why disinherit me? Why did you do it?
I asked you that once, remember? When you were talking about Anne.
That was... It was the act of a boy strutting around with his codpiece sticking out for all to see. I was stupid, I admit it. But you're not stupid. You'd done it. Against all the odds, you'd made yourself the king. They loved you in France. Or if they didn't, they respected you. Or if they didn't, they hated you.
You would have come back sooner or later.
You promised my father I would be safe. I didn't spit in your eye. I was content to spend most of my time abroad. We could have lived together. But you had to take everything.
2 boars in a thicket.
Oh, is that it? You and I?
No, it's not. It's something else. It's a boar and a child in a thicket. A child who's going to grow into a man. The old ways that try to stop the coming of the new. You see, Henry, in the end, a boar is only a boar, but a man is everything. It is the future.
I never did understand you. Even as children, there was something wrong.
And I never understood that they couldn't allow me to be a king. In the end, I was different. And we all know what the English do when they see something different, don't we, Henry?
I'm not here as your executioner, Richard. I've talked to the Lords, to Parliament and the Council. If you restore my estates and surrender certain named advisers for trial and swear to rule by the consent of the Council, you may keep your throne.
I can be king if I agree not to be king.
It's a fair offer, I think.
Then I accept.
Splendid. I'll get back to you. I'm sorry it had to come to this.
It's a lie, isn't it?
Of course it is. Goodbye, Richard.
They're not going to kill me. That might look bad. And they're just going to let me fade away. Starve me. A suitable fate for a man who thought that food and how it was cooked and served mattered. You know, I think of a picture I caused to be made after Anne died. It's very small, on 2 panels of wood. It shows me being presented to the Virgin by 3 saints. On the outside is painted a white heart resting in a green meadow with rosemary, in memory of her. It's so beautiful. I hope it lasts forever.
Your glory will be to endure, Richard. For if I know one thing, it is that not one person on Earth can hold back this world and our passage through it.
I think of columbine jelly and almond cream and pears. Pears in syrup, and a marchpane decorated with raised figures gilded with the thinnest of gold, and cherries preserved with Barbary sugar, and honey and scented plums with cinnamon, dates and figs and saffron cakes.
In Plantagenet by Mike Walker, Patrick Kennedy was Richard II, Blake Ritson, Henry Bolingbroke, and Alex Tregear, Queen Anne. Other parts were played by Sean Baker, Jonathan Forbes, Claire Harry, James Lailey, Stuart McLoughlin, Peter Polycarpou, Daniel Rabin, and Alan Raglan. Plantagenet is directed by Jeremy Mortimer and Jessica Dromgoole.